Hey gamers, I'm Hellmasker. I play blue class and I hunt achievement points. Welcome to my 50,000 achievement point pre-Janthir Wilds account tour. I'll be getting into general account stats, rankings, notable stats, currencies, and of course achievements. Both what I've got left and what I can never get. I'll also give you guys a quick glance at my standings on Guild Wars 2 Wingman, the DPS leaderboard for Guild Wars 2, and then finally we'll finish up with character fashion. Alright, here goes. Alright, here is my account overview. As you can see, my account's pushing 500,000 gold value. My rank fluctuates quite a bit. It's said higher than 99% for quite a while now. I don't really keep track of these liquid gold numbers very much. As you can see, I've stretched out the timeline of my graph all the way to the very beginning. I think this is probably when I made my efficiency account back in April of 2016, it turns out, when my account was worth a lowly, barely lower than 51,000 gold. And there are a lot of different things I can point to about why this is continually growing, but most of it is just I play all the time. I do my fractals a lot, I do raids a lot, and it's very steady passive gold income. But outside of that, I've never really farmed gold. If there's been a map where there are achievements for me to earn and there happens to be good gold per hour there, then like that maybe you could call gold farming, but for the most part I just play the game. I just play the game and enjoy playing the game. If we scroll down to the bottom of this main page, you can see my playtime right now as of about a week before Janthir Wilds launch. I've played about 23,000 hours. I've died about 53,000 times. This might seem like kind of a lot. 2.29 deaths per hour is kind of a lot from what I've heard recently. But you also have to consider that I've been playing this game since like the original Super Adventure Box release when Tribulation Mode didn't have guides. I've played, you know, lots of PvP. I've played tons of World v World. I've GG'd in raids and fractals, you know, probably thousands of times at this point, to be honest. So, yeah, that's how we end up with so many deaths. I can quickly scroll through the different categories of value if anybody's interested. I will be touching on a lot of these individual categories in later parts of the video, so don't worry too much about missing anything or about anything being unexplained. That said, if there is anything that I gloss over or forget, by all means, let me know in the comments. Swing by the stream. Let me know what you're curious about. I'm more than happy to tab out and you know, explain things, look at things. You know, whatever I can do, whatever you want to know. As an account with 50,000 achievement points, there's not a lot left for me to do myself. So if there's anything interesting we can do together or we can look at together, I'm all about it. Moving next on to characters. I have them ordered by birthday, so they're in order of creation. Right at the top, it's my main, my original Guardian that I created the evening of Head Start. It's pretty obvious that he's my main, highest number of max inventory slots, full bag slots, full templates. Everything is maxed out. I spend, as you might not notice, majority of my time playing this character. Of my 23,000 hours, 15,000 of them have been on this character, and of my 53,000 deaths or whatever I said, 30,500 of them are on this character. For a long time, I did everything on this character. Like I mentioned before, Super Adventure Box, Tribulation Mode, PvP, World v World, Fractals, Dungeons, everything I did on this character for a very long time. My next character was my Thief, who was also created Head Start, and this was because I played Lord of the Rings Online for quite a while before Guild Wars 2 came out, and they had a stealth class, they had a warg that you could play, which was kind of the stealth class, so I wanted to sort of honor that and carry that forward into Tyria. Unfortunately, when I named the character, I didn't know that Guild Wars 2 would have wargs, and so I probably would have named him Masquera Wargpaw, but at this point he has litter mates that, or warband mates, however you think of it, that share his surname, so it's a little late for that, unless I want to spend a bunch of gems on several, you know, makeover kits or name change contracts or what have you. But as you can see, I've played him a fair amount. Honestly, largely neglected. These gifts of exploration, by the way, these are something you have to manually update. Most of the characters I'll talk about, the first probably like 12 or so, are all map completed. but I just haven't gone through and manually updated these yet. That's something that's somewhat new to efficiency. Next, my Sylvari Necromancer. I chose Sylvari for Necromancer because in reading the first Guild Wars 2 novel, the was that the Edge of... No, it wasn't the Edge of Destiny. It was the first one anyway, where the Sylvari Necro that partied with Dougal to go and get the Claw of the Connor from Ruined Ascalon with Ember Doomforge, who you actually meet again in the Icebreed Saga, which is so sick fan service for those of us who read the novel. But anyway, I chose Sylvari for Necro for that reason, because there's a Sylvari Necro character in the book. For her name, I'm not exactly sure what gave me the inspiration, but for all of the Sylvaris on my account, for the like the real Sylvaris, not the Mules, the names are meant to phonetically kind of sound like Hellmasker, so my Necro is Hellmasker, is how I envision it being pronounced. I chose to make a Necro as my third character because any reason you make a Necro in an MMO, you want to summon minions, you want to have an army. You want to conjure things and send them to kill your foes. And that came, as you can see, only a month after Head Start. My next character is my engineer, who I made an Asura because they're smart. Engineers are smart. It seemed obvious. Same reason I made him an Artificer. That seems like a kind of a brainy craft or whatever. I chose to next want to make a Necromancer 2 months after making my my Necro, but I wanted to I chose to make an Engineer, excuse me, because I was doing the Claw of Jormag meta, and in the second part of the meta, you can, is it the second part or the first part? I don't know. You grab those packed weapons and you can just have an environmental flamethrower, and I thought it was so cool, and I knew Engineers had flamethrowers, and it was a lot of fun. And to this day, I still play my Engineer with a flamethrower build. I know it's not super optimal for most things that you're doing, but it was a lot of fun, and it's why I chose to make him. And these days, he's largely my home instance gatherer, my luck mule, the character that holds all the luck because he's Artificer, so he combines it all together. And, you know, that's what he does, I guess. Next up was my warrior, who, I'm going to admit this, and this is pretty embarrassing, but my warrior has always been named Hellmore Nut's Daughter, which is roughly translates to Hellmask, Night, the Daughter of Night. I didn't know what that part of the last name meant at first, so this character actually used to be a male character in the earliest days, because I didn't realize what that meant until someone called me out, like, why are you named Daughter but you're a dude? And I was like, oh. So I switched her, and I would later make it kind of works out, I'll get there soon. I would later make a Norn male that I am happy with. So my warrior didn't really get too much play for a while. Eventually, when raids would come out, I was for a long time a warrior main in raids. I wasn't super good at the game. I didn't have a lot of flexibility to gear. I don't know if Core Guardian was even viable or good back then, but I've never liked Dragon Hunter. People who know me know that I don't like Dragon Hunter. I never liked Dragon Hunter. So the most I played Warrior was I learned how to play Phalanx Strength Warrior back in the day. Power originally, but eventually Condi PS would eventually overcome it. And I would play a Warrior primarily in raids until Firebrand came out. So next is my Mesmer that I would make. I don't remember why I made a Mesmer. I guess it was just next when it came time to make another character. As you can see, the character name, all my humans kind of are just Hellmasker and then numeral. So I guess in lore, this would be my main's daughter, I guess, which is a little bit fun that I now have a real life daughter. So that's kind of fun. That's kind of cool. You also might notice that a lot of these craftings kind of fell off after the first three. Initially, my main was armor smith and weaponsmith, and ANET would release a legendary weapons video that would show off some of the legendary weapons, and I was very fond of the hammer weapon on Guardian, and so I knew I wanted to make the Juggernaut, and I later learned, like, oh, I need to have weaponsmith and jeweler maxed out in order to make those crafts. I didn't realize the gifts would be account bound, so I scrapped armorsmith and then leveled up jeweler. So I was weaponsmith jeweler for a long time on this character. My medium armor thief, huntsman leatherworker, kind of makes sense. My necromancer was armorsmith tailor, because at the time, remember, my main was not armorsmith, so she had the heavy armor and the light armor, which left the chef and artificing to my engineer. Chef kind of being just the last one, artificer because it made sense. As you can see, they now, a couple of them have 3 professions, because the extra crafting profession license would eventually come out, and I could reactivate my armorsmith, which was still 400, which was kind of fun. That all of that time later, years and years and years later, my main remembered how to make all that armor he learned way back in 2012. So that was kind of fun. The reason my Necro now also has Leatherworker was for the stunt I did, where I did the 29 legendaries within 2 minutes. I'll try to remember to put a link to it in the corner, like the fancy YouTubers do. And so what I did was I leveled her. She had Armorsmith max, Tailor max. I leveled her Leatherworker to max as well, so I didn't have to switch any characters, so she could craft all 18 Obsidian armors. And now that I've done all of the suffusing of the Obsidian armor, she wears the Eternal Forge Master title. I think that's pretty appropriate. But as you'll see, most of the crafts are barely touched, usually for leveling purposes along the way, or maybe they're artificers, so I can combine luck on them at one point. But that's basically it. Mesmer's good for portals, obviously. That's probably why I made it. I don't really remember. Next up, my Elementalist, as you can see, also surnamed Wolvenpaw. Probably should have been Wargpaw. When Scribe came out, and the time came to max out Scribe for the achievement points, not so much for the Guildhall decorating. It was quite a while after Scribing came out. They did some updates to make Scribe cheaper, and that's when I went ahead and I thought, okay, well, who makes sense to have the max level Scribe? And I just decided on my Elementalist. It seemed, I don't know, I suppose Engineer makes a little more sense now, but I didn't have the extra crafting discipline license to do that, so it's on my Ellie. She does the decorations. That's okay. Next, my Ranger, again, Sylvari. I for a long time I felt that if I ever had a second main, it could be Ranger. I really enjoyed playing Ranger. I really enjoyed what it was. And I don't know if that's because of Ranger's skill set or if that's because of how I chose to play Ranger at the time. When I made her, the goal was everybody ran full Berserker in dungeons, and I really liked the idea of, admittedly, a little bit of inspiration from Warcraft, the Troll Berserker, Warcraft 2 in particular, not even WoW yet. But there was the Horde's Archer unit was the Troll Berserker that would huck axes, and I knew that Rangers would throw axes, could wield 2 axes. I thought that was so sick. And so I geared her up in full Berserker, and I even, for each dungeon, there are different enemy types, I'm sure many of you know, and I even had like different axes for her to wield in her main hand. So like I had a axe of the Knight, and I had an axe for slaying Stone Summit, for slaying Dredge. I had an axe for slaying Outlaws. I had an axe for slaying Undead. And that was honestly kind of a fun memory. She was very squishy. I wasn't very good at the game yet still, so. But that was where she originated, and as such, when we get to her fashion later on, you'll see that I meant for her to look kind of barbaric, kind of savage, kind of scary, in a really aggressive way. And again, being Sylvari, the phonetic name being Hellmasker, if I were to try to pronounce it myself. But moving on to my second Guardian. That's right, I made a second Guardian before Heart of Thorns came out to make my Revenant. My second Guardian, the idea came from, I've mentioned a couple times now that I did everything on my main. I did all of it. I did World v World. I did PvP. I did everything. The goal of this second Guardian, which is just Hellmasker backwards, was I wanted him to be, anytime I used XP boosters, World XP boosters, Celebration boosters, even, you know, anything like that, World XP boosters, while those existed, banner buffs, I guess, anything like that there was a timer on that could benefit by being in a competitive mode. I didn't want to use those boosters on my main and then while I'm, say, raiding or fractaling or dungeoning or world bossing or achievement hunting or whatever, all of this potential gain of world XP or reward track when it would eventually come out, it felt wasted. It felt like, I'm not getting benefit from these boosters. And so the idea was I would use all my boosters on this Guardian, do competitive game modes on this Guardian to get maximum benefit from those boosters, get all the world XP, later on get the reward track bonus, and that way I could play my main for everything else and not waste those boosters and just, so that was the goal with him. I also, again, as you'll see later with the fashion, the goal with him was to make him look kind of the opposite of my main. So when we get there, we'll keep that in mind. Next up was my Revenant, who became my Norn male that I mentioned earlier when we were talking about my warrior. This was, I believe this translates to masked, no. Something was masker or something. I don't remember. It was a really clumsy Google Translate. I don't remember what it translates to. Maybe if I remember it or if somebody knows, you can comment or I'll put it in the description or something. A lot of making it was just to have a Revenant. Everyone had a Revenant, because Heart of Thorns was the new hotness. And so most of what I do with him now is kind of just playing Herald and pumping boons and, getting credit for things, admittedly. But that's being a male, well, I guess I'll talk about this later with fashion, but being a male Norn and kind of one of the big imposing characters, I wanted his armor to reflect that, but we'll talk about that when we get to fashion. Next, Hellmasker the 8th, which, again, if you're following my naming conventions, either this is my Mesmer's younger brother or this is my Mesmer's daughter, my main's grandson. I try not to think too much about it. But he's another ranger because he was supposed to be my druid when Heart of Thorns came out, the first proper healing class came out. And I played a monk. I played not to brag, but I played a very capable, very potent healer and protection monk in Guild Wars 1, and I was very good at healing. I was very good at protecting. I preferred protection, actually, but anyway, we had a proper healing class, and so I thought, it's time to get back to my roots. I bought the monk outfit. I made him bald. I used the same mini pet of my monk ranger in Guild Wars 1. I was all in. I was excited to get back to what it was that I used to do, and healing in Guild Wars 1 and healing as a druid in Guild Wars 2, very different. I was not good at it. I did not have fun. I think I have one single solitary raid kill under my belt as a druid, and it was from eons ago, and it was scuffed, and we barely succeeded, and it was mostly my fault. These days, this ranger is my fisherman. He's got all the bait. He's got all the rare fish for trading in for ambergris whenever I remember to do it. He's got the turbocharger for the skiff. He's got the fishing food. He's got all that stuff. So that's what he's for. Next up was actually Heltzy is my first Mule character. I'm not sure why I picked Mesmer. Not sure why I picked Asura. As you can see, my entire playtime over 8 years is only 23 hours. She's very much a mule. She's my investments mule. She's where I'll look at this stuff too when we get into like inventories and stuff. We can look through all of her, what I call investments, because they're things that are worth kind of a lot and I may want to sell eventually for some coin. But she's got all that stuff. That's kind of what she was meant for. She's just a mule. Next up is Rick. Now this character is the reason he's named Rick is because he's a cosplay of Rick Sanchez as a Sylvari from Rick and Morty. And we'll get into the fashion later. He is a mule of items, mostly ascended items that you can only kind of get once. Achievement rewards, certain things you can only craft once, or kind of unique ascended stuff. So that's sort of what his dig is. Like for End of Dragons, you might remember like not only the specialization weapons, but the specialization trinkets. The badge, the amulet, the ring. He kind of hangs on to all that stuff. Next up is Hellmort, which if you're picking up from the theme from Rick, this is actually an Evil Morty cosplay as an Asura. The reason he's only level 50 is because for quite a time, there was value in having a low-level bag opener for your bags of gear that you might get from Silver Wastes and other places. These days, every time I check, it's level 80 is still best. So I don't bother with him much anymore. He could be a mule. I think his inventory is just empty. I don't know, honestly. But it's a very basic, rudimentary Morty cosplay. We'll get into that later. Miskor Wolvenpaw. This was I think initially was going to be a mule. I don't think I've done anything real with him, honestly. But the idea was, well, what if I had a Charr that wore the same fashion as my main? That was the goal with this. That was it. And he's basically just a mule. He holds on to ascended raid drops. That's basically it. Hellmasker, the story is going to be pretty similar for a little while, by the way, fellas, pals, friends. Hellmasker is a name that my wife came up with. She is, I let her customize the character. She's got some tattoos. Just a mule. She just holds stuff. That's it. Hellmasker, same thing. A Sylvari thief. He's just a mule. He wears an outfit. Again, I let my wife name him, design him. He just holds stuff. That's it. Peacemasker, on the other hand. Peacemasker is my Pacifist character. If any of you caught my Pacifist world completion, 0 kills, and also 0 deaths, I might add, this was my attempt to be the lowest possible level when map completing all of Corteria, and I made it into quite a substantive series of videos here on YouTube, and ended up being almost 60 episodes, and it was something I learned a lot about making videos. I learned a lot about the game. I'll say here again, I'm pretty sure that the way I did at least 3 Renown Hearts in Corteria have never, ever been done the way that I did them. I have a high degree of confidence of that. I don't want to spoil anything. But this is that character. He could be a mule. I don't think he holds anything. He was actually level 78 when we finished the map completion, but I went through the whole map completion avoiding the character adventure guide XP boosts, and that meant no waypointing, and I may have messed that up since we finished the run. So he hit level 79. I was already not accepting the rewards for the last 2 maps because it would have pushed him over to 79 as it was. So I do kind of want to do another Pacifist map complete. I kind of want to do it better. I know I could do it better. If you watch the series, you know there's at least one glaring thing I could have done differently. I could have done better, but maybe someday when my daughter gets older. And then finally down here at the bottom, you'll see Mystic Wolvenpaw and the Hell Priest. These are guardians for the Charr and Sylvari racial elites, respectively, for hunting logs on Wingman. Maybe it's a little cringe to try that hard. Some people swap food 100 times in the middle of a fight, so, you know, tomato, tomato. But the original reason for creating them when I did, because you'll see, oh, they were actually created further apart than I thought, but at one point, Wingman was not based on your best logs across your account. It was your best logs per character, and so I, in somewhat of a prank, somewhat of a protest, I decided that I would try to achieve rank 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the specs that I choose to play, that I choose to compete on, which are Core Guardian, Firebrand, and Willbender. I got pretty close during the last era that I was attempting it, when before the Wingman dev made everything account-wide. But now it's all account-wide, so I basically I play similarly to mentioning my competitive Guardian, who, you know, keeps boost timers going. These characters can keep power and condition, very expensive foods or writs going, you know, and so I don't have to, you know, let's put on condition writ and let's put on, you know, maybe the burning food is best right now and then we'll go do raids, and then, like, when I'm done with raids, like, that writ might still be ticking and I don't want to waste any of the time. So they use utility primers and writs to, you know, do the best that I can do in any given fight. So that's all my characters. All right, we're here. It's time to talk about achievements. I've got the filter set to only what I can earn achievement points from. Though, to be honest, these days I know this list pretty much like the back of my hand. A big one, World versus World kills. I'm quite a ways off. This is an objective I consider a longer term achievement. This is not one I'm going to finish soon. Similarly, some points I have left in PvP are the 10,000 wins, which I'm quite a ways off, and Champion Brawler, which is also 10,000 wins, but rated, and I'm quite a ways off. Finally, there's also the True Dragon, which is only 1 point, but also quite a ways off. Indomitable Legend is listed here because it's still in the PvP Conqueror category in the in-game achievement window. This achievement, to my knowledge, is not attainable. This is not unlockable. If you do cross into the Legendary Division, you do not unlock this title. It does not work. It's either bugged or, as is probably intended, this title was meant to unlock during the PvP season in which it came out. And I'll talk a little more about those titles soon. Those are the only points I've ever missed. But somewhat shorter term is the tournament wins. I need 35 more wins to get 10 more points. I could do that. PvP causes me stress enough, and now like the higher stakes of a tournament, I've got to try and get some friends together, or even just, you know, get some fortitude together and jump on the LFG when the tournament comes up, especially with the changing the time zones and how tournaments work and all that stuff. I think now would probably be the best time because of how much activity may or may not be there right now. But moving on, Sin Eater weapons. I have plenty of shards. I have plenty of gold. I could go buy these weapons right now, but I'm stingy. And I know that if I keep doing the EOD daily strikes and doing each of them once a week, I have a chance of getting these as a drop. In fact, right now they're in the weapon and wardrobe unlocks as well, so I could get lucky there too. But I could at any time just go. I may even, to celebrate the launch of JW, I may even go buy these just to kind of you know smudge out the whole collections tab, have it disappear. As for fractals, this is the achievement for completing the new 100 CM Lonely Tower on challenge mode 25 times. I do it pretty regularly with some pals. I'm at 22. I might try and wrap this up like the day before JW launches, just to, if I have to break my nice clean 50k, which don't trust this number over here, by the way. I do have a nice clean 50k in game. I can explain why this is broken. I guess maybe now is the best time. Basically, the ANA API went down a bunch of years ago, so a lot of achievements that were unlocked are no longer like registered in the API, so it looks like there are less AP than there are. I don't even know which categories are missing, but that's why it looks wonky. And then further, it looks like I have 5,000 points to earn here. That's because this includes all of the seasonal, the annual festival achievements, which I've got 700 points for each of the 6. So, like, that's 4,200 points, which is just about what we're missing. And then finally, of course, in strike missions, I don't have the Embodiment of Sin title. I don't have the Despair Dodge achievement. I feel like if I were to get a regular CM kill, I could do Unbounded Optimism. I almost got it in my regular CM kill, but I died at, like, 2.5% of the boss, so that feels a little bad, but I feel like I could do it. I feel like I could do this, and I also feel like I have the skills to do EOS. It's just with a newborn in the house with a little girl, I haven't had time to commit to a prog group or, you know, anything like that. She was born kind of right around the time this came out, so but yeah. Thinking back to some achievements that were really hard or that I almost didn't get, it's funny, I mentioned the API going down and certain achievements being removed. I believe that the election that happened between Ellen Kiel or Evan Gnashblade is a category of achievements that got removed from the API, and they are some of the earliest. These achievements here are some of the earliest ones that I needed help with. I couldn't do these by myself. These achievements require you to complete tiers 3 and 4 of the candidate trials for each candidate, and I couldn't do tier 4 by myself. I don't know if they were meant to be soloed or not. A guildmate at the time partied up with me and said, "Oh yeah, I can help you, no big deal," and we duoed them pretty easily. It probably weren't intended for solos, but each of these, you know, getting the second tier of these achievements, that's 10 points for Gnashblade and 10 points for Kiel, so that's 20 points that I may not have gotten without his help. So if you're watching this, thanks again, man. I appreciate you. Another achievement that I almost didn't get was the 6 minutes to Knightfall in the Battle for Lion's Arch. Now I realize that these days, since the revival of Living World Season 1, I could, if I had missed it, now go and acquire 6 minutes to Knightfall. And in order to get 6 more minutes to Knightfall, I had to do it again anyway. But still. It was maybe a day or two before the Battle for Lion's Arch part of Living World Season 1 was going away, as Season 1 was temporary content back then. It was like the weekend right before that Tuesday update that would have turned off all of this content. And I very luckily managed to taxi into a TTS group who were originally known for getting very good at the new and improved Tequaddle, who, when they upgraded him, got very difficult to kill. The power creep was not such that it is today. And so killing Tequaddle was a big deal and was really hard. And, I mean, think about it. We didn't have any elite specs. You know what I mean? We didn't have any 4-stat stat combos. We may or may not have had Ascended gear. I think we did. I think we had Ascended gear. But still, maybe not even all of the Ascended gear. I don't know. Might have just been trinkets. I don't remember. So it was very hard, and they were doing this very hard achievement, and I was able to get lucky and taxi in and do it with them. So that's 10 more points that I wouldn't have had, at least until recently. We'll do the activities in game too, because I don't like how they display on efficiency. So before Heart of Thorns launched, I set the goal for myself that I wanted to finish all of the activity achievements, because I was so excited for the expansion that I didn't want anything to be kind of nagging me to go back to Corteria. I wanted to be in the jungle, fighting Mordramoth, doing everything I could out there, earning new achievements, new skins, cool stuff. And so I set the goal for myself that I wanted to finish all the activity achievements, and also Giant Slayer before Heart of Thorns launched, and I would eventually succeed in that goal. Sanctum Sprint, just jump in and play. Belcher's Bluff, you can 100% kind of in no time. South Sun Survival, again, you kind of just jump in and play as long as there are other competitors. I know when you die and become a wisp or whatever, there's a trap that lets you teleport to a very cheap trap resource-wise that lets you teleport to other competitors. So I would just run in front of them and spam the 1 key to get South Sun Trapper done. That's the only one I really remember. The rest of this just takes time to do. Now, for the other 2 activities, on the other hand, for Crab Toss and especially for Keg Brawl, I employed the help of my then girlfriend, now wife, Nungus, and I owe these achievements almost in their entirety to her. I don't know if I would have been able to finish them without her. In Crab Toss, she would grab the fishing pole and grab the other tools and the other weapons and grief other players to let me just hold the crab and win. And so if it was just the 2 of us, we would just kind of hang out and stand there and let the timer run out. But if there were other players, she would grief them for me. Maybe a little unethical, maybe a little unsportsmanlike, but the achievements are done. So, you know, it's a game after all. Similarly in Keg Brawl, I needed her help because Keg Brawl, even back then, had varying popularity and you could only play it on Sundays. So we spent long days on Sundays just playing Keg Brawl together to get all of these achievements done. Some of them are very, very quick. You can grab a keg and literally run out of the arena and set the steel, I think it's skill 2 or whatever, to auto attack and just stand with a friend on the other team, and you can just whack each other and basically do your 500 fumbles over the course of 2 or 3 games of Keg Brawl. But unfortunately, Keg Brawl wins. 500 wins is a pretty substantial time investment, and I wouldn't have been able to get it without her. I remember at one point, I got so good. There's a targeted keg throw, and then there's one that like you kind of just use your camera and look and wing it that way. But there was a point in time where I had gotten so good at scoring the kegs that I would pick them up from the middle and I would yeet them into the sky and they would land in the other goal. And it was very satisfying, although admittedly a little bit hard to do when there were other keg brawlers trying to stop me. And then just really quick, I did finish Giant Slayer. This was also done before the Heart of Thorns expansion dropped. So continuing on with hard or grindy achievements, leaning more into the hard ones. As I've mentioned a couple times, I was not very good at this game until sometime shortly before Path of Fire came out. And so finishing raids at all was kind of a big deal for me at the time. In particular, getting Eternal was a big deal. The title, the Eternal, from finishing Veilguard and Gorseville and Sabatha without dying, like that was a big deal to me at the time. Wing 2 would come out, and then Slippery Slubbling would become the new challenge mode. I was also very excited to finish that. These are things that I didn't think I could do. I didn't think I was good enough. Stronghold, KCCM is mostly the same fight, so like this one I had mostly done. I was pretty excited about. But then Wing 4 CMs are where like CMs started to kind of get hard. And I remember there's still a video on my channel that I managed to find in my Twitch highlights of, or maybe I found the Shadowplay file. But I was playing Warrior, like I've mentioned, and I had War Banner, and I saved our Cairn CM pull back when it was really hard, before power creep, before a lot of people were very good at the game. And we were down to a few players left, and I War Bannered 3 other players, and the boss had like 1.5% or something, and we managed to kill it. So I was very excited about that. Most CM I don't remember being too terribly hard, but Samurag and Deimos in particular were very hard. The group I was with struggled a lot. I struggled a lot. I'm very happy with those kills. And then in natural progression from there, SHCM wasn't too bad back in the day, but man, Doom CM was a rough one. Doom CM took a long time. I ended up actually clearing this with a then ANET dev. I don't know if they still work for ANET. I think they're a sound guy. But I think it's because you used to be able to be grabbed by the Echo as you were returning from a green, and there was effectively nothing you could do about it. If you couldn't see him coming, how do you time when you only have 10 seconds to grab the pink orbs? How do you wait to grab it until he runs by? Like, it didn't feel fair. And I think because we experienced it kind of a lot in our group, I think that sound dev went and spoke to the appropriate people and got that fixed, so now you can't get grabbed when you're coming out of the green. So that's kind of nice. I don't remember too much about Wing 6 CMs other than Kadim 1 CM was kind of easy for me because as a Firebrand main, I had Mantra of Solace, and back in the day, it didn't do protection and resolution on its individual charges. It did in Aegis, so even as full DPS, I was able to protect my team from the fireballs that bounce around the arena on Q1 CM. And then for Kiev Adashim, for these CMs, I remember being invited to a group that hadn't even done the normal modes yet. It was the day that Wing 7 came out, hadn't done the normal mode pulls yet, just turned on challenge mode and went with it, and we managed to clear it that day. So I was kind of proud of that, kind of stoked on that. Kind of jump in and learn how the fights work and make it happen. So this, like I said, around the Wing 3 and 4 CM, or excuse me, Boss 3 and 4 for Wing 4 CMs, learning how to do Samurag CM and Deimos CM and what makes a good player good, that is around when I started to get good. It was just before Path of Fire came out. And then Path of Fire would come out, I'd fall in love with Firebrand, become a Firebrand main, and I wouldn't really play Warrior anymore. So, and then in a similar vein, obviously, Harvest Temple CM, Voidwalker, those are also huge accomplishments. Those videos are also on my channel. So very happy with those as well. And I'm sure I will feel a similar sort of pride when we get to EOS and possibly the Despair Dodge and maybe Purple Title. I'm not gunning for Purple Title because it's hard, time commitment, prog group, all this and that. I may or may not get invited to a group that manages to carry me through it and clear it if they just need another body. But as I sometimes say around here, no points, no point. Changing screens just a little bit here to point out that I do have both of in continuing the achievement discussion, I have both of the I'm Rich You Knows unlocked. The 1,000 gold white one and the 3,500 gold yellow one, gold one, whatever. Just expensive points. Just throw gold, get points. That's all these are. They're just expensive. I've never worn either one of them. I don't think they're just expensive. Just throw money away. And in continuing with expensive achievements, obviously Black Lion weapon collections are pretty expensive. And at present, I have all of them done, completed, unlocked. I think I didn't start really pursuing them until ANET started adding an uncommon weapon set and a rare weapon set to the Black Lion chest. So it meant that for those weapon sets, when they were in the chest, a lot more were coming into the game. There was a big influx of those skins coming into the game. And it kind of created this positive feedback loop, because once you finish a weapon collection, you get 7 tickets that you can put towards the next set. And so I think at one point, because they would do 2 sets in the chest, and then they would cycle into the next 2 sets in the chest, and they would still have the same single ticket set. There was a time where I had like well over 100 tickets. So I was set for several collections. And then, of course, as these new weapon sets come out, like the chromatic assassin weapons, I believe, are still the newest ones, you would still get 7 more tickets back. So even as they kept coming out, I was getting refunded more and more and more tickets. I did pretty much every weapon set like this except the chaos weapons, because they do end up being so expensive. And the reason for this is the last time they were in the chest, I missed them. I don't know if I was on a hiatus, if I wasn't playing, if I was busy, if I was broke. I don't remember. But I held on for a long time thinking, I'll wait till they come back to the chest. I'll wait till they come back to the chest. I'll wait till they come back to the chest. Unfortunately, when ANET decided that they're going to keep adding these weapon sets, and they implemented the vintage Black Lion weapon box, any of the weapon sets that are in that vintage Black Lion weapon box are sets that are not going to come back as uncommon or rare sets in the chest itself. Those are the only way to get those. And on the one hand, that's a disappointment, because they'll never get that cheap. But on the other hand, it means that I don't have to wait for the chest to update. Those weapons are, in some essence, always coming into the game. And so I did eventually bite the bullet sometime. I think it was just last year I finally finished all the chaos weapons. So yeah, those were some more very expensive achievements, is these weapon collections. Because even if I was getting a good deal, the cheapest these weapon sets would get was still usually between 200 and 350 gold. The rare set would be anywhere from 700 to 1,000 gold, which was a good deal at the time. When these sets are, as you can see with the chaos weapons, when these sets were normally 6,000 gold for the whole set. So that's how I handled it. And now finally I come to the saddest part of achievements that I earned, or in this case, I hadn't earned. All of the missing achievements I can never get are all from failing to ascend into the legendary division in particular PvP divisions, or seasons rather. I got very close. This is back with the old pip system. I got very close. I got to diamond both of these times. Not pictured here is one of the other legend titles. I'm not sure which one, but it actually, I know exactly which one. Indomitable Legend, which we mentioned before. I had hoped that this would be similar to those last 2 that I showed you, where, you know, if you get to diamond, you still get, I still got 4 of the points. Like, that hurts a lot less. But also not pictured here is Primordial Legend, which for some reason was not 5 points, but it was 6 points. So in total, the 6 points from Primordial Legend, 7th point from Exalted Legend, the 8th point from Illustrious Legend, and then these 5 points from Indomitable Legend mean that there are only 13 achievement points I can never earn, assuming that ANET doesn't do something wild like rework how this achievement is unlocked or make those other legend titles and achievement points re-earnable. Unfortunately, unlike Living World Season 1, I don't see them doing that. Similarly, on another player versus player note, I am very happy, was very happy the day that I finished all of the 360 points for the PvP League Completionist. And not long after that, the reason this says 74 and not 72, which would be the minimum to finish this, is because I also had to continue on to finish all of the points for Emblem of Victory. And what this means is between this achievement requiring ranked matches and this achievement only working in ranked matches, I never, ever, ever have to play ranked again for achievement points if I don't want to. Barring ANET adding new seasoned achievements, adding new division titles, adding new maps achievements that are only playable in ranked, which I don't really foresee, I never have to play ranked ever again. Ever. And here we have the PvP tab on efficiency. As you can see in the early days, this was Primordial season. I didn't realize that Primordial Legend would be a temporary achievement, or I probably could have gotten it. I didn't try. I played a little bit, got to Sapphire. Oh, I'll do the rest later. Later never came. And then like I showed, like I showed in the achievement panel and discussed, I hit diamond every time after that when those individual legend titles were available. I would sometimes get within one win of getting to legendary. I'd say just one more win, just give me those couple of pips and I can get into legendary. And I got really unlucky. I got ruined right up against. I played whatever was flavor of the month build. I played Necro when it was good. I played Revenant for a lot when it was good. And I couldn't make it happen. I unfortunately could not pull it off. Like I mentioned when I talked about True Dragon being a longer term one, I have almost 200 ranks to go. However, if I ever go for Conqueror and Champion Brawler, I assume that I'll probably gain around 200 ranks in almost 7,500 rated wins. Maybe, probably, with boosters, you know. Here's my matches played and win rate breakdown. Some folks might be surprised to see anything other than Guardian here, but I will remind you that the champion titles exist. Champion Paragon, Champion Shadow, Champion Phantom, Champion Genius, you know, all of those. And there are achievement points tied to those. I was a little bit afraid when they released the new Legendary, Fabled, and Ultimate versions of all of those titles that they would require, that I'd be required to do them because they would award AP. Somewhat thankfully, they don't. If they did, though, I would feel a lot more compulsion to play more PvP if I had so many points to earn there, but it is what it is. So, yeah. And here we are in the wallet tab. I'm not going to spend too much time here because a lot of this stuff will come up again when we get to the account statistics stuff. But some things I'm, kind of proud of, things that are kind of notable about my account. Kind of a lot of gold, kind of a lot of karma, kind of a lot of spirit shards. A good amount of laurels that some people pick on me like, why don't you spend them? And I go, well, I've got a lot of gold. I don't need to spend them. Like, what would I spend them on? I'll just wait till I need them. Wait till I need the tier 3s or tier 4s that end up coming from the laurels. Kind of a lot of unusual coins, ancient coins, decent amount of ascended shards of glory. Cause like I just mentioned in the PvP section, I have a lot of ranked I had to do. So, I think, as a bit of an aside, I think that this is going to be enough Ascended Shards of Glory to get all 18 pieces total of the Ascended Mistforged Glorious Armor. So that's going to be sick, and it's going to be a cool thing for my homestead here in a week. But not a ton of tickets, not a ton of proofs, really. Nothing else in here is really, I feel like, too impressive until we get down to Magnetite Shards. Lots and lots and lots and lots of Magnetite Shards. I've been raiding every week for years and years and years at this point. I don't even bind the minis if I don't have them. I just exchange them for shards. There's no achievement for binding all of the raid minis, if there ever were, though. So a lot of volatile magic. Again, some people pick on me and say, oh, turn it in for gold. And I say again, why? Decent amount of blue and green shards. This is just the currency version of my Legendary Insights. This does not include what I kept from pre-Legendary Insights being currencies. So I still have my physical item, Legendary Insights and Legendary Divinations. A lot of Fractal Relics, been Fractal God for a long time. A lot of Pristines. I don't know if that's a lot of Tales of Dungeon Delving. I didn't really do a lot of dungeons. Kind of a lot of UFE, though. Kind of a lot of UFE. And here we are in the bank. It's a bit cluttered, but I promise there is an explanation for most of it. This top tab is kind of stuff that is kind of has general use, I guess. Grab a booster when you need it, grab an exchange voucher if you need it, tomes and XP, things that are, I'm not sure how I would categorize this tab. All my gobblers are up here. Tickets for future sets are here. I don't know why I'm collecting 4 sigils. I just feel like a gold and a half is not enough. Like I'd rather wait till they're worth more. Maybe when spears come out, who knows? The second tab, as I mentioned during the achievement section, getting CM kills was something that was kind of rare for me. I was not very good at the game for quite a while. And so I kept all of the caches in order from the different CMs. And when Wing 8 CMs come out, I may have to shuffle things around and make some more room. I really... Maybe I should move them to a Mule. I don't know. Some of these boxes have been in these slots for years and years at this point. So yeah, a lot of this is kind of just stuff tucked in corners. You know, research kits are here, dyes are here. The reason I keep these around is for those mini pet combination collections. You know, you've got the tigress cubs that all have all different textures and shapes on them that require unidentified dyes to combine. And on the one hand, I have dyes already ready, so I can just combine them when they come out. But then on the other hand, if I, you know, finish my set, that's probably when unidentified dyes are going to be the most expensive. So that's when I want to cash in. This tab, again, is kind of a hodgepodge kind of stuff just thrown everywhere. It's a bit of an overflow of this tab, which I consider my legendary tab. So, like, obviously there's a lot of precursors, legendary gifts. You know, here's chests of legendary shards from various festivals when the festival tokens or currencies themselves aren't really worth trading for raw gold. I have a random gift of fortune because I needed it for an alert that I made, and then I was going to salvage it back down because you used to be able to do that. Guess what? Can't do that anymore. So I have a random gift of fortune. And like I said, this tab is a bit of an overflow. There's some Canthan gifts here. There's some Gen 3 variant gifts here that I just haven't spent yet. You know, it's kind of an overflow. There's some stuff kind of sitting everywhere. The two little tokens for upgrading the cat minis in fractals. Whenever I get those drops, they just pile up. Moving on, this is sort of a bit of a little memento tab, sort of sentimental-ish stuff. I've got the Christmas ornaments from the first time we had to help the orphans with Christmas. I've got all the broken Khaled Balgs from all the characters that have completed the Heart of Thorns story, which I suppose I should have mentioned in the achievement slot, but when Heart of Thorns came out, there were achievements for finishing bladed armor, laystone armor, chalk weapons, auric weapons, a lot of those sets that are iconic to the Heart of Thorns expansion, except they were all very hard to get and or expensive to craft. And so the best way to get them was to take characters all the way through the story with various checkpoints of the story, giving you, like, here's a choice of an auric weapon, here's a choice of a chalk weapon, here's a choice of a, you know, here's a piece of laystone armor, and so on and so forth. So that's why I have so many broken Khaled Balgs. They would eventually, of course, after I finished everything, they would come out with an update to the Heart of Thorns reward tracks that you could get those items as choosable rewards. So basically, if I had to redo this achievement now, I'd probably just sit in World v World and let the rewards come in. Similarly, I have the old dungeon required runes here because I don't know, I paid dungeon currency for them and I'm a sucker for it. And so I want to keep them. And also, Runes of the Trapper are account bound, so, you know, I've got legendary runes. I've had legendary runes for a long time. I don't know why I hang on to them. Just sentimental, I guess. A little fun to look back and think, man, remember when I used to have to do dungeons in order to get geared? You know, it's kind of one interesting thing to look at. And similarly, I did a lot of World v World. Speaking of the Heart of Thorns reward tracks, I did a lot of World v World for the dungeon reward tracks. Whatever dungeon I was working on to finish those collection achievements, those were the reward tracks I was working on for World v World and PvP whenever I was doing them. This tab has all of my infusions that are kind of, some of these are left over from when I was trying to get all of the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 for all of the different Guardian specs I play. So that meant gearing, and even if I'm trying really hard, infusing all of my Guardians. I later would realize that I didn't need to make +9s for everything because I was also competing on the Fractal leaderboard, but like I've had Fractal God, like +7s would have been fine. +5s probably would have been fine. So I wasted a bit of gold there, but you know, whatever. They've got some kind of value, I guess. You know, 612 gold worth of Spiteful Infusions. It is what it is. Also on the other side, there are some recipes here that I don't feel like I want to throw out. Like you get them as drops and they pile up, so I just keep them. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't. Who knows? Moving up next, there are banners. When I had bonfires, when I didn't use them, I have used them occasionally over the years. Banners would sit here. Enchanted boosts are here. The other half of the tab is my Smurf gear for when I do key running. I've got not strong or precise or honed gear. This is literally exotic berserker gear that only requires level 18. It's kind of expensive to craft. But it is pretty cool to use against the story bosses and stuff. Paulo was a free gem store item to sort of, I don't know if it was to celebrate the third Guild Wars 2 novel getting launched or if it was just to I don't know, raise awareness, I don't know. But I use, it's a very small stat gain. It's +1 to those 4 stats and 3 power on the pebble versus, you know, all of these stats on a greatsword. But this Initiate's Ring is an account-bound exotic level 20 ring that came from the Spoon Collection achievement. And so that's what that's from. I rarely get to level 20 anymore. The reason this was so important to me at the time was because usually I would use like a level 20 scroll to level up my character, my key run character, right to level 20. And so all this level 18 gear and this level 20 ring, like it was perfect. You just slot it in, get powerful. But these days, I only require level 18 for most of it. I only bother getting to level 18. You know, I don't usually hit 20 until after the run's over. But still, in case we get more 20 scrolls from something. And then finally, the Astral Ward Cloak is, nobody tell ANET, but the Astral Ward Cloak, that's a reward for something in Secrets of the Obscure, I could check, but is a level 80 back item with no requirement. So that's exciting gear boost. But even a level 80 back guard still doesn't offer as much stats as a level 18 weapon. But anyways, that's all my Smurf gear that I use. This other stuff is the Dreambound weapons that came out. One of them with Halloween, one of them for something else. And then also the Bloodbound, which are the rare versions that I wanted to try using Sword. I wanted to try using Sword in my key runs because it shadow steps and it's faster. I wanted to see if the Bloodbound weapons were worth using, if they're better than the handcrafted, handcrafted weapons. Turns out they're not. And I even, to really see if I wanted to use Sword, I made the handcrafted Sword. But then I realized I would also have to make a handcrafted offhand, and I'd have to decide if I want the Great Sword Leap or if I want the Staff in Powers and Swiftness. And so basically this is a half project that I abandoned. So that's my key running Smurf gear. Moving on, these 3 tabs are my Ascended tabs. I keep all of the Fractal boxes stacked, and all of these are all in the same order. It's helmets, shoulders, coats, gloves, legs, boots on all of them. Helms, shoulders, coats, gloves, legs, boots. Even on the raid armor bosses, keep construct helms, white mantle shoulders, Sabbatha's armor coat, sloth gloves, Gorseval leggings, Veilguard boots. It's in the same order, and I really like this tab. This is probably my favorite tab in my bank. Similarly, these are all weapon and armor chests of specific stats rather than being able to choose a specific piece of armor. There is at least one box I don't have. I've never gotten the drop. I don't know what it is. I've looked it up before, but it's going to be a real problem if I ever do get it. You could also kind of glean that is the rarest armor box, if I'm correct, and there is one that I don't have. Or you could see that, like, gee, Ongchu weapons and Bygarth weapons are really common compared to, like, Kronk armor or Tateos armor. So, but this is a fun, also leftover chests of inscriptions and insignia from challenge mode raids. Moving on to the next set, some recent raid drops that haven't been moved off onto Mules yet. Stackable Doom armor boxes, stackable Lost Takiyun weapons from Gala Delve, stackable Assault Knight helmets from Old Lion's Court, and then stackable Gloves of the Obedient from Samarag or Deimos, and then White Mantle weaponry and White Mantle armaments. You can see White Mantle armaments appear to be way more common. Although, asterisk, I think White Mantle armaments came out first. Though 16 drops more? I don't think about that. Next are all my raid decoration tokens. I was saving up to get 250 of each originally to craft golden statues in the Stream Guild, the TTV guild, where players are free to join, free to leave, free to come and get the resources, get the 15% waypoint discount, all that stuff. Initially, I was going to build gold statues of all of the raid bosses in that guild hall, except homesteads were announced. And so I'm waiting to make gold statues in my homestead instead. Moving on, these are collection food and ingredient drops from the Moot and the Minstrel legendary collections. These drops unlock as part of those collections. Some of them are kind of meme foods, like this is toughness and gain health. Like this is a worse peach pie, because it only lasts for 15 minutes. But you get them for free. You get them every time you do the respective bosses, and some of them are good, such as the Fire Flakes from the Fire Elemental in Metrica Province, which is the old 15% burning food. Only 15-minute duration, but like it's the old 15 burning food. Since End of Dragons, this is a little bit less good because we have 15% burning with Condi damage instead of precision now, but still, it's free. Do the boss, get some free food. And similarly, blood oranges are effectively free koi cakes. Some of these are interesting. This is Power Vitality, maybe has use in World v World. I told myself if I ever learned how to play like Celestial Druid or Celestial, you know, the gummy worms would be useful. Gummy worms obviously comes from the jungle worm. But there's a few of these, and there's other ingredients too that drop, like purple potatoes, and you gather potatoes that can be made into, guess what, mashed purple potatoes, you know, so kind of fun stuff. The other half has been mini Professor Muse, because similar to the Force Sigils on a much smaller scale, I don't feel like these are worth selling for 2 copper. These are Overflow Bone Skinner vials. My main also has a lot of Bone Skinner vials. I bought these lumber cores and feldspar cores when homesteads were announced, excuse me, because I don't know if we'll need them. Maybe they'll be useful, who knows? And if they're not useful and I ended up wasting this investment, I didn't waste very much. What is this total? Maybe 25, 30 gold? Like, who cares? Like, that's fine. Moving on, I've got some festival stuff here on the left. You know, Sacred Crystal chests that came out, Sandswept chests from the most recent 4 wins. I think these were from Dragon Bash, Winter's Day gifts, Celestial Champions from Lunar New Year, favors from Labyrinthine Cliffs, Super Adventure Box stuff. The other half is all a lot of stabilizing matrices. I need to offload these. I need to sell them. They're taking up a lot of room. Obviously my collections are full. I've stashed my Merchant Expresses here because since getting the gambling trinket, or the legendary collector's edition Sandstorm and the portable ectoplasm delivery device from the Skrit Gambler, I can sell shit whenever I need to. I don't need Merchant Expresses. I don't need gathering tools. I don't need salvage kits. So I stuck them in here. Now, medallions and crests. Why are these here? Because you can use these in the Mystic Forge, and maybe you'll get an amalgamated gemstone. I find that it's more convenient for me to keep these in here for my non-main characters, and I actually have 8 slots dedicated to these on my main in his bags, so that I don't have to deal with them every time I open a chest or kill a mob or open a bag or whatever. It's more convenient for me to just, after I pile up a bunch of them, dump them in here and forge them. Moving further onward, in here we have largely birthday gifts. These are the birthday dies: Triumphant, Celebratory, Jubilant, etc. I don't have anything to unlock from these. The only one I have stuff to unlock from is the Delectable die kit, the 9-year die kit. But I don't think at present you can unlock all of its offerings, because there haven't been that many that have been, there aren't that many that have come into the game yet per account, I don't think. But these are largely achievement rewards and birthday rewards. So there's name change contracts, self-style kits, makeover kits, level 30, 40, 50, 60 scrolls. And here's just where all my tomes ended up. We got lots of tomes. The only thing I really use them for, yes, I could exchange them for spirit shards. The only thing I really use them for is for leveling up my key running character once a week. I could use them to level up a character further to, say, 80 and do more key running. I'm just not quite ready to do that yet. Moving further, the bottom 2 tabs, I'll tell you right now, while we're here, these are all basically mementos. These are repeat tonics I've already unlocked. These are gizmos and gadgets from various legendary craftings. These are, boxes of fun that I get from achievement rewards. This is a gobbler I'll never use. Leftover glass from the Echovold Wilds Cathedral back piece, the Spirit Smith back piece. Things that are, this is adding 1,600 gold value to my account. Like, why would I just salvage it or get rid of it? You know what I mean? It's kind of a nice memory to go, oh yeah, I did the spirit weapons. That was sick. That was cool. That was exciting. And this is all, Living World Season 1 stuff. I already bound Mini Liadri when we did the Queen's Gauntlet the first time back in when it came out with Season 1. This is the repeat version when they made it a festival. So that's kind of fun to hang on to. I've got the growing, budding, pun intended, stages of Maudry, old Ellen Keel rep buttons, various things that I kind of, are stories to me in a way, old festival rewards that are items and not skins, April Fool's Day stuff, the old April Fool's Day elixirs that I bought a ton of for dirt cheap, thinking these might be worth something someday, because that's where my head always goes. Admittedly, upgrade extractors could probably stand to be in the very top tab where like stuff gets used occasionally, but I just use the search bar when I need them anyway. So and here's the personal delivery portal. I keep the Sandstorm one in my shared slots. So, but this tab is there have been supply drops in the past where you pay a price for like weekly drops from the gem store. A lot of this is that stuff. It's things that I don't really have a good use for. I don't know that I would need any of these keys, or even better, I'm waiting for these to upgrade or update and get new key options. Here are my physical overflow legendary insights. My collections are still full. Overflow fractal journals from when my pages get too full, a whole stack of statuettes. My second or first, depending on how you argue about it, silver fed, because they offered the salvage, it's like a salvage package or something, where it comes with a copper fed and a silver fed and a something else. And so I bought the package, and I did try to get refunded for the what is now my duplicate silver fed, but they said no, so it just sits here. And now these bags are versions of bags that I don't think you can get anymore. Maybe these soldiers' rucks you can get, but these account-bound 10 slots are bags you cannot get anymore, and so they're basically a memento. So and this is festival rewards. So yeah, this is kind of. This is the bank. There is method, there is logic to a lot of it. Yes, it's cluttered. Yes, I probably need to go through it, maybe throw stuff out, maybe clean stuff up, but there is method to it. Moving on to the material storage, I'll probably just scroll through quick. There's a few things that are maybe kind of notable in here. In particular, I've got, let's see, my legendary, like I mentioned before, legendary insights. These are still here. My legendary divinations, these are still here. My season 4 currencies are all full. So Kralkatite, Difluorite, Inscribed Shards, Mistonium, Branded Masses, and Mistborn Motes. Those are all full, mostly from doing Icebreed Saga, the 5 easy strikes and trading the ice in just to fill them up. Mostly from that. I've got kind of a lot of clovers. I'm ready for the new legendary backpack if I want it, the legendary spear if I want it. Kind of a lot of mystic coins right now. I've been pretty active in the raid selling scene recently, so we're feeling pretty stacked there. Ectos are also doing pretty good, pretty full. Also all the way down here at the bottom, I have some of the old snowflakes still sitting in storage because I figure, again, my head always goes here. I figure eventually they'll be super rare and worth something as tokens or whatever. So I'm just kind of sitting and waiting. I wish I had thought to save more of these so that I'd have some of the other 3, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It's okay. So yeah, that's my ascended mats. I probably won't, my stabilizing matrices are full here too. That's why they're overflowing in the actual bank proper. And I think my main has a bunch on him as well. So 341 integrated fractal matrices. When I mentioned in the bank section that I made a lot of +9s, I drained these. I ran out of integrated fractal matrices. So that was a pretty big hit to the gold. But you know what? I got my wingman account wide like I wanted. My protest worked. Maybe. But yeah, that's mat storage. Really briefly, we are in the upgrades tab on the account tab of efficiency, and this is just sort of to show how much account upgrades I've got. I got the Commander's Compendium when it was only 100 gold, but beyond that, most of these have been on sale. Bank tabs, character slots, my material storage. Every single time they allowed me to buy more, I buy more. I needed more and more and more. If they upped it again, they could double it to 5,000. I'd buy 10 more expanders. I don't care. 30 shared slots, I believe, is currently the max. I would love 2 more, actually, because whenever I'm on my main, who's got 32 slot bags, I have the inventory 32 slots wide. And then when I switch characters to a character that doesn't have 32 slot bags, it shrinks to 30 slots. And it kind of, which is fine on that character. But then when I go back to my main, it's still shrunk to 30 slots. So my 32 slot bags have 2 little leftover slots on the side. So I'd love 32. But yeah, that's basically it for upgrades, I guess. Next up, the Legendary Armory. My attitude with legendaries for a long time was if a Guardian could wield it, then I would make one. Eventually, the Envoy's Herald achievement would come out, and I would need all of the perfected Envoy armor skins across all 3 weights for the achievement points. And then I kind of carried that attitude forward for a while. I do have Twice Told Legend, and I have it with the Bifrost. I'm not proud of this, but at the time I had friends and acquaintances who would craft a second legendary of a particular type and bind it, and then contact support and say, oopsie, I didn't mean to do that. I wanted to sell it. And then when support said, okay, go ahead and delete the legendary, that's when they would go and get their title and get twice told legend, and then delete the legendary, then get one to sell and kind of scam support in that way. Now, again, I'm really not proud of this. I tried that, but I was a little late to the punch, so they had gotten wise to it, so it didn't work. So I just have 2 Bifrosts, and you might wonder, well, why did you do the Bifrost? It's because I was doing the legendary crafting collections that came out with Heart of Thorns. I was doing those for the few achievement points each that those are worth, and so I thought, I already have the precursor from having crafted it. That's a pretty expensive part. The gift of the Bifrost is one of the cheapest ones in my opinion. It's like some dyes and some opal orbs. That's like nothing. That's no big deal. Like, there are going to be some invariably expensive parts, like, you know, the Gift of Fortune is expensive, map completion's a drag, but ultimately, like, that's what I decided to do, and I don't regret it. There was a brief time where there was a meta druid build that you would you'd run quick draw and you would swap on staff, so you'd always get fast staff cooldowns. So you'd have staff, and so I thought, oh well, I'll just learn that build, and I never liked druid. But then more time would go by, and they would, legendary runes would come out. I had 7 from very early on. Obsidian armor would come out, and if any of you watched the 29 legendaries video, you know I have all of those. There was more achievements added for having all 8 legendary sigils. That's the main reason I have all of those. I do have Ad Infinitum, the first legendary backpack that came out. I could make the Ascension, I could make Warbringer, I could even make Transcendence if I felt like it, but I don't see the need if there are no achievement points for it. I don't care for any of the skins. Why would I waste the resources is kind of how I feel about it. Once End of Dragons came out, I would adapt my attitude towards legendaries a little bit. And it became kind of if there's a cooler legendary skin that comes out for a Guardian weapon, I'll make that. And I think while I did make the Aurine's Fang as my first 3rd gen, it was because Guardians unlocked the ability to dual wield swords. So even though I had Bolt already, now I had Aurine's Fang, I could use 2. But my first true duplicate legendary that I made strictly for the skin was Aurine's Gaze. I think that legendary 3rd gen foci looks so cool. It looks like a gauntlet, like a power glove of Aurine magic. It looks super sick, and I really like the 3rd gen foci. But yeah, that's my Armory. I think my first legendary was the Juggernaut. Far and away, honestly, was my favorite legendary on launch. It still ranks pretty high for me. I know that's a little polarizing. I think people don't like it. Even my dad said it looks like a staff. And I don't see it really, but I really like the shiny, the Quicksilver effect. I think it's super cool. Kamahuli Ikataki was my second one. The Shark Spear was my second. I put a buy order in for the precursor, kind of like, teehee, and it actually bought. So I'm like, well, I'm going to make it. It's a cool legendary. And all this time later, maybe is kind of paid off that, we're getting land spears soon. So my 3rd legendary was the Bifrost, was my first Bifrost, because when the Edge of the Mists was in development, there was a preview build that some players got to hop on and check out the new World v World map. And that build was data mined, and what the staff that would come to be known as Nevermore was found in the code, and I saw the chat code and I thought, oh my god, I love the bird staff, I want it, it's so cool. If I get any precursor drops, I'm gonna sell them and put that money toward what would become Nevermore, toward the bird staff. Unless, I told myself as an asterisk, unless I get the Bifrost precursor, in which case I'll just make the Bifrost and have a legendary staff sooner. Wouldn't you know it, world rank 907, while in Edge of the Mists, world rank 907 contained the legend, and so I thought, well, I'm making the Bifrost, and so I did. And then Heart of Thorns would later get announced, and they said there wouldn't be any more underwater legendaries, and so I made Kratekin because we weren't going to get any more Tridents. Still haven't gotten any Tridents yet, so I made Kratekin. My 5th legendary was Eternity because it was one of the bigger prestige items in the game at the time, and I ended up buying it from a guildmate who was a little abrasive, a little toxic, a little annoying, admittedly. It wasn't worth quite as much then as it is now, but I ended up trading him a bunch of things. He wanted to make Bolt, and he had just crafted and bound Sunrise and Twilight and combined them into the tradable Eternity that he was going to sell and keep, obviously, his Sunrise and Twilight skins unlocked. And then he was going to try to make Bolt, and so I gave him, you know, a T6 set and a stack of Ectos and some Mystic Coins for Clovers back when Mystic Coins weren't worth anything. And I did the math, and at the time it was about 2,700 gold. I traded him for a 4,500 gold Greysword, so I felt pretty good about that trade. Thereafter, it's a little blurry for me which legendaries came next. I know as Gen 2 resumed coming out, I made legendaries kind of in response to whether or not I wanted the new one. So like, I was never really crazy about the Moot. So when they teased Eureka, I didn't immediately go make the Moot. I would eventually make it. But like when they teased Shushadu, I immediately went to make the Flameseeker Prophecies. When they teased the Binding of Ipos, which is a cool legendary, don't get me wrong, it's just not for me. I immediately went to make the Minstrel. When they teased Flames of War, I'm like, well, cool, neither one really fits me, so I made the cheaper one if I was going to reskin it anyway, that kind of thing. You know, so just things like that. I think the only Gen 2s I made were Astralaria when Firebrand got Axe, and I realized I kind of waited to see if I'd like it. Love Axe. Axe is a really great weapon on Guardian. And then when Ferris came out, I'm like, holy smokes, that weapon screams me. Even though Dragon Hunter was the longbow user and longbow hadn't been liberated yet, I had to make it. It just was too fitting for me to have that weapon. So there was always a little silver lining that if I ever decided or was coerced into playing Dragon Hunter, like, well, at least I can use that cool bow. Which, you know, eventually it would be liberated and any class could use it, and I got to use Ferris as a Firebrand. So for a while, till Pistols came out, and then obviously I had Hope and Orion's Argument both made well before I was able to wield them on my Guardian, just to be ready to be prepared. So, I also, speaking of making things whether I liked them or not, I didn't like how Aurora looked by itself. I didn't like how Aurora and Vision looked together, but then when Coalescence came out and I saw the effect of all three, it went from like purple to pink, and I'm like, whatever. And then now it's like white lightning. I'm like, oh, okay. There's my ticket. And so then I went and made Aurora Vision and Coalescence like all at once together. And there really wasn't a lot of grinding. A lot of people associate grinding with Aurora and Vision, but because I've been an achievement hunter so long, I had the achievements already done. I already had the Wayfarer's Henge done. I had all the Skyscale stuff done already. So I was like, yeah, whatever. And then, like I said, Coalescence came out, and I was like, oh, I'm making all three of them. So that's how a lot of my legendary journey went. That was a lot of my mindset at the time. And coming over to the account statistics, there are a handful of really notable ones, I think. I'm just going to go ahead and sort by rank. Finished achievements, I think, is a pretty obvious one, number 12. The only thing with finished achievements is I don't know if this includes repeatable achievements. So, like, have these guys, you know, completed Agent of Entropy more than me or completed more dungeons than me? You know, I'm not sure exactly what counts as a completed achievement. But still, I think that's a pretty obvious one, a pretty, you know, pretty reasonable one to expect to see here. Ranked 15 for Aureliums, I do have 9. I would have more if, sometimes from time to time you might hear me want plus 11, plus 5 stat cosmetic infusions. I think those would count as another stack of the aura. I would love more Aureliums. They're my favorite infusion. Or even legendary infusions, or add new, you know, ferocity infusions. We don't have those yet. Like something to let me sparkle more. You'll see that when we get to the fashion section of the video. Unlocked titles, rank 24, pretty cool. I've gotten the White Mantle portal drop 6 times. So that's ranks 42. I've never bought one. I've just gotten it a bunch of times. High ranked for Frost Legion infusion, even though I only have 1. I like to tell the story with this. The achievement in-game for being awarded a Frost Legion infusion is to drink 500 of those Ice Brewed tonics. But when the achievement came out, there was a bug that when you got to the final step of that achievements chain, when you got to 400 out of 500, no matter how many you drank, it counted the previous 400, I think is roughly how the achievement thought. So I actually drank 1 single more tonic and it completed the achievement. So I got it for about 20% off of its price. That has since been fixed though, so that was pretty cool. Rank 69 on the LI. I've been raiding pretty much since it came out, and I've been raiding pretty reliably, pretty consistently every week for years at this point, with very little missed fights, missed weeks. Same explanation for mag shards. Lots of mag shards. I know I could cash these out. This is a currency, like I think we talked about in the currency section, in the wallet section, that, oh, you could cash these out and make so much gold. Yeah, for what? 8 Everblooms. Those are all bought with shards after my group completed Harvest Temple. The first one I did buy with green shards when, like right when we finished it, I bought one, and then when they got exchanged to blue, green shards became blue shards when Secrets of the Obscure launched. I bought the other 7 different stats for my ranger. She wears all of them. You'll see that in a bit. Pretty good on green shards. I do at least the weekly Soto strikes pretty much every week with my static, and then sometimes I try to do dailies to try to get lucky with the Sin Eater drops. But that's it. Like I mentioned with the, rare or hard achievements, like, top 100 for Crab Toss, top, 158 for South Sun Survival, top 200 for Keg Brawl. A lot of karma, From there, it starts to get a bit less impressive as we go on. I've gotten the Abyssal Infusion drop 4 times. None of these were purchased, which a little frustrating because I have 1 red Celestial Infusion and I had to buy that. Still to this day, do fractals all the time, pretty regularly. Had a static for a better part of a year. I've had multiple statics actually, and I've never gotten a red Celestial drop, never. 4 Abyssals though. A couple of blue Celestials from time to time even, but anyway. Yeah, the rest of the, pristine fractal relics, UFE, we're in the top 700 or so. Fractal relics, still top 700, top almost 800 for unlocked skins. And then after that, I feel like they're a little bit less impressive. I'm going to go ahead and scroll through them pretty slowly. So if anybody really wants to come by and pause the video and see like, oh, where is his rank on such and such? Though I realize that maybe having them sorted by rank is, I don't know, not ideal, I guess. You won't really know where to look, but anybody who's really astute and really wants to see exactly where I rank on particular statistics, you can come through and look. You can come and take a look and see where I rank. A lot of these down here are going to be really unimpressive. All these zeros, so yeah, that's where we stand with the account statistics. And this is Guild Wars 2 Wingman. It is a DPS leaderboard site. It's kind of a lot of what I'm talking about when I say I'm going for a particular log or a particular rank. It's this records page that I'm referring to. It's not set in stone. It's not legally binding. It's not a hard truth, but it should be taken with some grain of salt, with some skepticism, as the dev mentions here. Don't take these too serious, as your DPS varies depending on your overall group comp, roles, mechanics you might fulfill, buff up times, and so much more. This is exactly the truth. So that's why when you're going for what I call a good log, it depends on RNG, it depends on mechanics, depends on the RNG of your allies, stuff like that. I know it doesn't mean with absolute truth that I am the best, but it is a fun game within this game that I enjoy playing. It's part of what has kept me in Guild Wars 2, despite having 50,000 achievement points, having done almost everything that there is to do. So just as part of the account tour, I have pulled up, if you click this little magnifying glass, it'll show you all of your ranks since they started having DPS logs. So I have this pulled up in this window. And we can just quickly kind of scroll through, and you can see that I've been a Guardian main for a long time. You can see that I've been doing it. I've been consistent. I've been in the end game for a long time. This also keeps track of some particularly fast clears that you have. It looks like my group that does bonus bears has the fastest voice in claw for this patch, and we had some other really good fast ones in a couple Novembers ago already. So, and then a random, I needed to get some pals together for a no GGI for some reason. I was testing something, but that's how my leaderboard standings have looked throughout my time in the end game of Guild Wars 2. It's a great site. The dev's a really nice guy. It's a lot of fun to play around with these things and examine other logs for players who perform significantly differently or better than you, and kind of see what you can learn. But yeah, that's That's Wingman. Starting off the character fashion, we have my one and only, my main Guardian. This look is very polarizing, but the goal is to be shiny and holy looking and just this bastion of light, and to really try to encapsulate the just this embodiment of good, and that's always been the goal. And you know, light versus dark is kind of, you know, the timeless portrayal, and that's what I aim for. A lot of folks, at least when I've posted on the subreddit, don't like my look. I think I really like my look. Aurene weapons fit me amazingly. You can see all my Aureliums, and in fact, if we change to this template, which isn't really used for anything serious, I even have the 9th Aurelium, the exotic one, so you can really see it here, with my first legendary, the Juggernaut, which admittedly, like, this armor doesn't shine super well, so, but I really like how it looks. I also wear that single Frost Legion infusion that we talked about. This character also wears 3 Winter's Hearts infusions, which you can barely see. You can kind of see those little blue puffs that are left behind me. Those are from the Winter's Hearts. They're a nice touch, and they're not hurting anything. It's not like I can put more Aureliums on yet. Anyway, so, or if they came out with any other infusions, you know, with Janthir Wilds or beyond, there would be other infusions I'd fall in love with. The Winter's Hearts are probably the first to go. But as for right now, they're not hurting anything. But yeah, this is my Guardian. My chosen chair is the Wandering Cloud, which, if you don't know, you can move while you're on the Wandering Cloud. It's a bit of a pay-to-win chair. You still gain rested XP while you're on it, and it can move, so it's pretty sick. Fits my whole godlike kind of vibe that I'm going for. This character, I'm a big fan of the Exalted mounts, as you can tell. So I use all of those that I can. No Exalted Turtle yet. Ain't where you at? Get on it. So even for a time, my chosen tonic was one of the Exalted tonics. One of my random minis is one of the Exalted minis. I think my rarest mini, actually. I think we might have talked about that. So yeah, my inventory is a little also pretty polarizing. I choose not to hide my bags because this to me just looks like a pile of mess, and I don't know what to do with it, and I don't know how to feel about it. But if I show the bag, suddenly I have all these little corners and ends and nooks and crannies to tuck things. But this is my main that has all my space. I honestly could probably go through a lot of this invisible bag and kind of organize this and keep track of it. The lower bags are sort of kept out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. There's some things here from when I was doing Battle for Lion's Arch kind of regularly. There are the medallions and crests I may have talked about in the bank. So whenever you can even use the portable Mystic Forge when you're in a raid. So if there's a lot of downtime, I could even spend a little time doing this and trying to get lucky for amalgamated gemstones. But some on-kill foods, some old bounties. Like, I can organize things, the legendary starter kits, which we're getting another one of soon. Got way too much silk. It just piles up down here. Some other random odds and ends that are just overflow bone skinner vials, all kinds of things that there's a reason for most of it. I have more corners to tuck things in. That's why I don't hide the bags. I know that's a hot take, or that's something that maybe people are not a fan of, but it's how I've always played, and it's how I've always thought about things. But yeah, this is my Guardian. This is the pinnacle of fashion for me. If we're talking about the skins themselves, the Radiant Backguard, which was a push for a lot of my achievement hunting. Once this was data mined, I'm like, oh my god, I need that back piece. It's amazing. Could stand for it to be a little less silver or gray on the back. But the chest and legs are the Mistforged World v World. The boots and shoulders are the Mistforged PvP. The gloves are Exalted gloves, which is kind of feeds more into my love of the Exalted. Those are my people. And then the helmet, you might notice, is a little underwhelming or a little less prestigious, less rare. And it is. I feel like heavy classes should have a full face helmet most of the time, and this is kind of just the best one that we have. It's been literally my helmet since it came out. Since I could craft this helmet, this has been the skin I've used. All the full face helmets that have come out since, I don't care for. With the slight exception of the Wormslayer visor, which is obviously the same model. But I would genuinely be so elated if they added a dye channel to this helmet so that I could dye the stink to be maybe more of this light blue smoke like the Frost Legion, or make it white, or make it even gold, or whatever. Make it the blue to match the magic on the Mistforged pieces, anything. I would love a dye channel, but unfortunately there just isn't one. It's the same dye channels as the base Illustrious visor that the Wormslayer visor has, so. But yeah, that's my main. And my second character, the Thief. He's named after my Lord of the Rings Online warg, like I mentioned back in the characters efficiency section of the video. He's loosely branded, loosely, you know, kind of initially was supposed to just be, you know, shadowy, dark, hidden, kind of, you know, archetypal thief wear. But in doing Envoy's Herald, I would come into possession of the Perfected Envoy stuff, which I do like the consideration that was given to Charr, that the armor combat animation opens up and covers their tails in armor. I do like that. Kind of never really meant for him to be purple. It's just that by the time I you know, at some point in my Guild Wars 2 life, I realized that all my other characters kind of had a distinct color with their themes. Obviously, we've seen my main is white. We'll see more soon. So purple was just sort of the last available color. So I kind of made him dark purple. And the branded back piece was sort of an easy choice for that, and the pinnacle weapons kind of tie into that. So like I say, he's maybe loosely branded. The red Celestial Infusion is on this character, even though, like, you know, obviously it looks more purple. It fits him quite well. And I really like how the shoulders dye. I dyed the shoulder pieces to look like bone. They're clearly, this is a skull of some kind, and this is some kind of spine bone of some sort. So this is kind of the goal with this. It looks like I have just Aurora and Vision ticked because that's kind of purpley, kind of fits everything. But yeah, his inventory is largely empty, nothing too exciting in here. He was my Huntsman though, so I have these visions of all the Huntsman weapons if I ever decide to make the, I think these are for the heroic Dragon's Blood weapons. So they're in his inventory instead of taking up spots in the bank. It just seems like this is a more effective way to use it. But there's nothing really exciting. I rarely use my Thief for much of anything, to be honest, unfortunately. But he's here, and I don't hate his fashion, so that's my Thief. And moving on to third character, this is my Necromancer, my Sylvari Necro that I mentioned was chosen as Sylvari because of the Sylvari Necro character in the first Guild Wars 2 novel. I've always pretty strongly felt that Sylvari should wear planty-looking armor. It doesn't necessarily have to be cultural, but there's, you know, the Twilight armor set. There's some outfits that are, there's a couple of Verdant outfits, I think, that look very planty. I've made some exceptions here with her wearing the Necro mask because it does kind of make her look vaguely dead, and, you know, Necromancer dead, kind of, or undead, or, you know, some kind of arcane magic behind those eyes, and I feel like she's pretty much worn that since her inception. I've thought, like, that's just the perfect look, and that's what she should look like. I did eventually abandon the plant armors for the Wormslayer gloves and shoulders because they're kind of that toxic-y, you know, think, you know, if this casts Corrosive Poison Cloud on you, like, she's wearing half of the Corrosive Poison Cloud, you know? So I felt like it fit. And she also was, I knew from the get-go that she was going to wear the Karka Carapace from the Lost Shores event. She's been wearing this back piece since I got it. I think it's just it's kind of scary. It's kind of creepy. It fits the look for me. I feel like it looks great. I also have got her the Empowered Bone Skinner weapons for whenever we need to use them. And they've got unique projectiles. If you guys didn't know that, the Empowered Bone Skinner weapons are like half legendary in a way. And I think they look great. I think they fit the look. For her other weapons, I've got the Venom Bite is a solid choice. We've got the Sunless weapons are also a solid choice. More of that shadow, more of that green, more dripping. Made a Necro kind of for the same reason everybody else does. You want an army. But yeah, she's been my how she looks pretty much the entire time. Although when I created her, she was actually a green skin Sylvari with green hair. But my wife would start playing around that time, a little after I created her. And my wife made a blue Sylvari, so I used a makeover kit to change this character so we could be blue Sylvaris together. And she's been blue ever since, and my wife feels also pretty strongly about the Sylvaris ought to have plant armor or planty-looking armor or plant-adjacent looking armor. So, yeah, that's how we feel about that. The skins are, it's literally Worm Slayer's gloves and shoulders, tier 3 cultural chest, legs, and boots, and then the Wraith mask for the mask. So, her inventory is empty. I don't do anything with her. So, that's my Necro. Moving right along, my next character that I made was my engineer. I made him because I was doing the Claw of Jormag meta event in Frostgorge Sound, and one of the environmental boxes you can use there, you can pick up a flamethrower, and I thought, that is so fun. I knew engineers had flamethrowers. That's so cool. That's so exciting. I want one. So I made an engineer, and he became a flamethrower main. Been running the Juggernaut trait. Is it the Juggernaut trait? Yeah, Juggernaut trait. Pretty much since he was created, we've always run the Juggernaut trait. It's just, it feels good. It just feels right. So as for his fashion, as you can see, like being a fire blasting creature, all of the Hellfire skins just made sense. The fused gauntlets that came out way back in season 1 also just made sense to me. When season 1 came back out, the molten shoulders would come out as well, so I dyed those to match. I think they look great. He does wear a Hellfire infusion, if for no other reason than just to cover up his, you know, his ears stick out, so just to kind of mask them a little bit. It's not perfect, but it's better than it would be without it. And yes, I was on the miniatures tab because I think it's funny that the mini that he uses is almost as big as him. So, you know, don't talk to me or my son ever again, you know. I did, in the name of the Hellfire set, I did for a long time use the Hellfire back piece for some time, for actually a very brief time, because I hit 42,000 achievement points, which is what you need to get your second back piece. And then I feel like it was a matter of weeks later that Drizzlewood would come out and the Flame Legion back piece would come out, and it's objectively a better looking back piece. It has fire, it has the smoke effects, it has everything. This has, you know, this has a little bit of, this has embers and like candles on it, and it's, you know, the Flame Legion back piece is just so much better. So unfortunately, the Hellfire back piece is just, it just is, I forget I have it, honestly. I used fused weapons. They were kind of a, you know, the first black, I'm pretty sure they were the first Black Lion weapon set, and they hold up pretty good, honestly. You don't really see those kinds of effects on other weapons, and they fit his look of, you know, the fused gauntlets, fused shoulders. He's an engineer, so there's some technology there. The idea's, you know, all there. For a long time, I used the Guild Wars 1 Hall of Monuments title, Flame Seeker. I have since moved on to the Master of Draconic Fire for finishing some of those intense weapon sets from the Icebrood Saga, the end of the Icebrood Saga. One of the reasons I could do Facet of Prisms and Boundless Light is I could wear Primortus's title on this character. That'd be kind of cool, I guess. It'd be another, like, small pro against the large list of cons for me. His inventory is primarily luck. I'm trying to get rid of all these frostbitten weapons, or gathering tools, because every time you gather, you get a snowflake, and I don't know, I got a lot of these tools for free in the very first Winter's Day because they dropped like rain, and so I have tons of these frostbitten tools, tons of the frostbitten toolboxes. I'm just trying to get through them and use them up and get them out of my inventory because I can't bring myself to destroy them. Between having the Snowflake Gobbler and them having a little bit of innate value, it's impossible for me to bring myself to do it. He also, like I mentioned on my Thief, he has a couple of the Heroic Dragon's Blood visions you need to craft those. So he has, same idea, he has them on him because he's the Artificer and I don't want him taking up bank slots. And he's also, again, as my Artificer, he's my Luck Combiner and Hoarder. I wish that, this is after, by the way, after doing all my Obsidian armor that you may have seen in my 29 Legendaries in 2 minutes video. I wish I had done more research on exactly how much luck I would need, because I feel like I made a bit of a mistake by spending virtually 0 luck during the Year of the Dragon Lunar New Year we just had, and I feel like that was a mistake. I don't know where I would have put all the back pieces I would have invariably acquired, but I have all this luck and almost nothing to really do with it. Maybe there'll be another luck sync someday. Maybe they'll up the magic find from luck cap. You know, it's all up in the air with only the future knows kind of thing. So, yeah, that's my engineer. He's pretty much always been a little fire guy. So, yeah. Moving on. And you can't have a fire character and not have an ice character. This is my warrior. She's been an ice character all along. She's always worn that Ice Lord diadem. I may have even made her with the intent to have an ice character after my fiery engineer. Even back when she was a male, I will still admit to that. She always wore, then as a male, always wore the Ice Lord's diadem. I always wanted them to be an ice character. This, you know, Ice Reaver gloves, boots, pretty straightforward. This was one of the first characters where I started to experiment with skins not really intended for a particular look or theme, being dyed and contextualized in such a way that maybe they look like a particular theme, so it's inferred. These are the Blossoming Mist Shard Tassets, and I think these are meant to be brand shards or mist shards. As you can see in the icon, they're meant to be kind of purple, but if you dye them like this, you could argue, you could buy that maybe they're icicles. And so this is a more minor example of that, where I feel like the holographic back piece is definitely kind of infers that this is like ice shards that she's flapping. And as of course, we got to have the snowflake shoulders on any ice character. Though I will mention here, I don't think this is too hot of a take. It's a bit of a travesty that we can have snowflakes falling on us, or we can wear a scarf. You can't have both. That's a little lame. Anet, give us a Winter's Presence infusion, please. Some kind of Mystic Forge recipe or Winter's Day achievement or something. Let us unlock that bad boy. And then also with the Jormag's Eye, this is the free one you get from completing the achievements. I thought it was always going to be a Jormag Eye for her. I feel like putting it in that eye, putting it behind her hair, I think it makes a really cool look. So even though her hair is obscuring her other eye, you can still kind of see the magic kind of glowing from behind there. I did go ahead and make her Jormag's axes. I needed to at least do the iterations of the different skins one time each for the achievement points, so I thought, why not just give her Jormag's axes? Axes are strong on warrior and likely always will be, and so that's what we did with that. So yeah, she also, if you look close, she has a blue bauble infusion we got from Super Adventure Box. And also in the inventory, there's nothing really going on here. I've got Ice Reaver daggers for when we spell break, and I've got an Icy Dragon Slayer Warhorn, since those are weapons that I don't have legendaries for. You know, so we keep those around just for her. Whenever I show a character's inventory and I say, I don't really do anything with this character, they're kind of just like a level 80 body. Most recently, I'm reminded of the diving event where we were to use these ornate rusted keys and open a bunch of sunken treasure. I would park her and 9 other level 80s at those respective sunken treasures and just hop characters over and over again. Didn't get what I wanted, but that's kind of what I mean when I show a level 80 and I'm like, I don't really do anything with them. Maybe I'll park them at a world boss. Maybe I'll park them in a jump puzzle. Who knows? You know, any number of things. Anytime you just need a level 80 body, that's kind of what those particular characters are for if I don't have another use for them. But yeah, I don't hate how the legendary amulet rainbow effect looks on her. I think it's, you know, it almost adds to that, like, you know, you think of the Aurora Borealis being like super far north and being something that happens in the cold, and she's icy already. So I feel like it fits. I feel like it fits pretty well, you know, for me anyway. And again, the title Master of Draconic Ice, to, you know, counterpart to the Master of Draconic Fire that my engineer wears. Like I said before, if I did go through with the Prisms and Boundless Light, she could wear Jormag's title instead of this one, and it'd be slightly more prestigious. But yeah, I noted, I recognized fully that the top is a little plain, but it was an intentional decision because I wanted to be able to see her tattoos. When I did her makeover kit, I wanted to make sure that you could see those, which are white like snow. That was the goal. And I also think that through, honestly, probably just sheer coincidence, that the Blossoming Mist Shard legs also show a little skin. So she has like the shoulders showing, the midriff, a little midriff on the side showing, and then a little upper thigh into the hip showing. Like I don't know, it just feels like it almost could be the same set. Like it almost like was designed to go together. I don't know. It feel like it looks good. Pretty happy with this character's fashion. I would be open to changing the chest piece if there were an icy still kind of, show tattoos kind of chest piece, but I don't know that we'll get that. So, but yeah, that's my warrior. Next up, the Mesmer, in case it wasn't too obvious, going for a pirate theme here. I'm pretty sure that was going to always be her look. I kind of didn't, I feel like I didn't really have a look for her until the eye patch and the pirate hook and the peg leg came out, and then it was like, oh, I'll make her a pirate. That's great. And before Living World Season 1 came back, I'm pretty sure she wore the tribal stuff, the tribal shoulders to go with, and I don't remember what her back piece even was, but once that stuff came out, it was just too easy to give her, give her the captain's mantle, the captain's cape, you know what I mean? Just really go full-blown pirate on it. I also initially wanted all of her skins to look very expensive. I don't know that I've really kept in with that. It kind of just looks sleek and captain-y, pirate-y, I suppose is what I've aimed for. But it has pretty much always been her look, was to be a pirate from the very beginning. I don't really remember why I made a Mesmer. It might have been so I could help people in portaling jump puzzles and stuff. That might have been it. That said, I don't really use her for very much. She's kind of a mule. We got this bag full of some backpacks from a couple years ago, and other than that, like I said before, just sort of a level 80 body. I guess somewhat notably, we have the pirate captain's chair is also to fit with the pirate theme, but other than that, just another level 80. Nothing too serious. Pretty happy with the fashion otherwise, though. So yeah, that's Mesmer. It is what it is. Coming up next, the Elementalist. I knew I wanted to make her a Charr. I didn't necessarily know I wanted to make her a female, but she was my second Charr character. And so I thought, I already have a male, let's make a female. But I definitely wanted my Ellie to be a Charr to kind of harken back to like the Flame Legion shamans of yesteryear. This is also going to be the first character that I have multiple fashions on. So this is the fashion that I came up with for this character. A lot of, especially a lot of this fashion was inspired when like Weaver came out, when like, yeah, Elementalists are sort of supposed to shift through all the elements, but even more so as a Weaver, you're supposed to really weave through the elements if you're playing the class well. So anything that was elemental, like I wanted her to wear it. Obviously the Catalyst crown would come out, and that's got all the elements on it. The Weaver Antipodes with the fire and the water, the Tempest loop with the lightning, the mini pet is even elemental. The back piece is actually a relatively new change. I think I got this from a wardrobe unlock, and it's got the earth and the fire and the water and the lightning. It's got everything there. So one of the few excuses I have to use Bolt, and it actually feels kind of appropriate. Slight hot take, not a big fan of Bolt. And use the Weaver, the Tempest wind air horn, war horn. And so, again, with the legs and the boots, I kind of don't mind the light envoy armor. I think it's kind of cool that as a Charr, that when you draw your weapons, like even your robe bottom kind of gets claws that come out. I think that's fine. I think the boots look fine. And again, I really like that some care is given to Charr tails, and you get this kind of chain link blade that comes out as well. I do like that. And then the chest piece is laystone, because there isn't really a whole lot of earth representation, so I thought like wearing a literal rock vest would kind of, ground her, pun intended, maybe. And so that's kind of the whole look, is just as elemental as possible. And then the other look is this weapon set, and it was made by my wife to kind of look soft and look welcoming and look somewhat regal. Her hair has had the earrings on it. They weren't terribly noticeable with the Catalyst crown on, but she gave her kind of this fur coat to make her look welcoming and cuddly and inviting. And a lot of this was for the Heal Tempest is where I would play this, you know what I mean? Kind of healing and come to me and I'll protect you, and, big wings to kind of hide your, protect your friends under, and then, on the other hand, all the elements, unleash them, do damage. That's kind of the idea with these two looks from this character. So, what she does is she is my scribe, as I mentioned before. So she holds all of my overflow decorations. For a little while, she was holding all my raid decorations, but anytime I tried to do anything with her, namely maybe, I don't know, diving or parked at any jump puzzle or anything, she'd very, very quickly run out of inventory. So I tucked those in the bank tab where they are. She also is a bit of a mule for the globs of dark matter. Dark matter sync when, Anet, where you at? I use the Runes of Radiance for a long time, and much like my dungeon runes in my bank, you know, they're account bound, and I don't want to salvage them or sell them for a measly 15 copper, so here they sit. And yeah, that's it for my Ellie, I guess. And my final original base game class, the Ranger. It's a little bit of a shame that in some aspects that the final class I made of the original 8 was the Ranger, because there was a time where I was enjoying playing Ranger so much that I thought it could be my second main. Obviously my love for Guardian is unwavering, but I always thought Ranger was a lot of fun to play. Again, being Sylvari, really leaning into the plant skins, or plant adjacent. I know this chest piece is not explicitly planty, but it's kind of soft and feathery, and it's got the flowers on it, and you know, so it's plant adjacent enough for me. Also toxic shoulders, toxic gloves, toxic boots, because this character was meant to be kind of, I created her with the inspiration from, I played Warcraft 2 when I was a kid, predating World of Warcraft, and I really liked the idea of the Troll Berserker, the Horde's archer unit that would just be hucking axes at the enemy the whole time, and I knew that's how Ranger axes worked, and so that was the goal. And as a Troll Berserker, being the upgraded archer unit, I wanted her to be my full Berserker, glass cannon, super squishy, huck axes, get kills. She ended up being my dungeon runner for a time. I had an axe for each different type of slaying sigil that was applicable in dungeons. So I had one for nighttime, which is good for like a third or half of dungeons or something, and I had a dredge slaying axe, and I had an outlaw slaying axe, and I had an undead slaying axe, and they were all different skins to kind of correspond to which, you know, which slaying sigil they were equipped with. Like, I think I made for instance, I think I made the Ascalonian Catacombs axe that lights up at night. I think I made that my night sigil axe, so that whenever it was nighttime, I could pull that axe out and it would glow. It was kind of an interesting time for me for that. You know, it was my first foray into not having defensive stats, because I had historically always played like soldier gear. And yeah, as I mentioned during the stats section, she's got 8 Everblooms. As you can see, she's also got a Mordremoth weapon. I made her the Rending pretty much for the same reason that I made my warrior Jormeg's Rending. Khalid Balg, just such a solid choice for Sylvari gamers. The lore of it is so important. It looks fantastic, fits in with the plant vibe. Wayfarer's Henge, very planty, arguably a little bit prestigious even, because people hate doing that back piece so much. It has scared away many a Tyrian from earning their Aurora, because no one wants to do weeks and weeks of Renowned Hearts and Draconis Mons for the Wayfarer's Henge. So it just feels a little appropriate that I wear it. And this character is another point in maybe could have possibly having been my second main. This character is maybe one example I could see myself making a legendary that's not for my main, because Talami Kudzu wouldn't look perfect on her. It would look so good. It would fit her really nicely. So yeah, also she has the most complicated dye scheme, because these are all very different armors that dye all very differently. And the legs are just Warbeast leggings, because I just needed some leggings. I, for a long time, tried cultural armor. I didn't want her to wear tier 3 cultural armor, because I felt like she just looked like Kaith, because Kaith, as a thief, wears medium cultural armor. I didn't like the tier 1 cultural armor at all. The tier 2 cultural armor dyes weird. Even the legs don't dye the same. They don't look good. So it took me a long time to get a look with her that I really liked. Something I decided on very early, though, was this mask. As the full Berserker stats, like, I needed her to look absolutely vicious. Like, this is a monster that's ready to draw axes and destroy you. And that's the look that I wanted. Which this is a makeover kit. This is not only makeover kit hair, but this is a makeover kit face. I wanted the big kind of soulless looking eyes. And it's actually kind of funny how much of a drastic change in her expression the mask makes, because without it, she kind of just looks like a forest nymph or something. So it really, you know, maybe smiling is not always the friendly gesture you think it is. But yeah, this is my Sylvari, my ranger. The title, again, Ravager kind of plays into that really, you know, just kind of savage beast kind of thing. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people don't really see titles anyway, and and yeah, Everblooms too that swirl up and over. We got all 8 of those. Oh, and let me show the dyes, because like I said, they're very complicated. So it's like all of these different colors are colors I've used for her and her skins over the years. Luckily, I've got all 3 pieces of Toxic, and so those all dye the same, but it's like the pink is Cantaloupe, and then there's Flare, there's Electro Lemon, there's Pastel Spring, you know, there's 3 or 4 different yellows, there's 3 or 4, there's Shadow Turquoise, there's Growth, there's Algae, there's Shadow Green, like there's 4 greens on it. Like it's maybe one of my more complicated dye jobs, specifically with dyes. But overall, not too upset with it. I don't think I have any special chairs or mounts for her or anything, so... but yeah, that's my ranger. That was my first full berserker character, looking like an absolute monster. So, moving on. And before we hit all 9 different classes, this is my first repeat. This is my second guardian, meant to be the exact opposite of my main, the anti-Hellmasker, if you will. This is my competitive guardian, where the goal was to, you know, if I put on a bunch of XP boosters, Magic Find boosters, Celebration boosters, Festival boosters, and then I want to go play World v World for all the added reward track and World XP, great. Except then when I leave World versus World, all of those timers are still ticking and potentially being wasted if I'm, you know, you don't get any extra Magic Finder XP from, well, you do get extra XP from raids, but I want the boosters used for World v World, and that's what he's for. He's to kind of keep these timers up and not waste them doing something else. Like I said, meant to be the opposite of the good holy bastion of good, and this is meant to be opposite. This is not light, this is dark, this is not good, this is evil, this is not, you know, comforting, this is scary. And that's the kind of the whole vibe with him. The one overlap of their skins is they both wear exalted gloves, because they just feel like it fits the look really well. This character also uses exalted shoulders, which I feel like don't really look good on my main. I like the idea of the wispies. I am a big fan of the exalted, like I mentioned, but the shoulders, the armor themselves looks kind of dinky. And I feel like, you know, on a heavy plate male character, like if you've got cool shoulder armor, like you look cool. Like that's like 90% of it to me. And dinky barely there little sheets of metal, just I ain't cutting it for me. Archdemon back piece to really sell the evil of it. Instead of the World v World chest piece, I have the PvP chest piece, which I think you can't really see much of anyway, and I would argue it has a cooler tendril effect. There are more tendrils, and there's more magic from the back, I think. I think it's a nicer effect than the World v World one, even if I don't like the actual armor skin as much, at least for my main. He wears, I believe, not 1, but 2 bauble infusions. There's, let's see, yep, there they are. Both the red bauble infusions that I've got unlocked. Obviously a red poly, and wears not 1, but all 4 of the abyssal infusion drops I've gotten. They don't stack a whole lot. There's a little bit of difference. But yeah, this is it. Most of the weapons he uses are the Crimson Vanquisher weapons, because even when drawing and stowing the weapon, look at that trail. The trail on the Crimson Vanquisher weapons is perfect. It's so good. And then Juggernaut too, because I love the Juggernaut so much. But yeah, like I said, his use is for World v World primarily, so a lot of the loot in here is from doing World v World and all the different things that come with it, and a lot of the reward track boxes, siege, things you would primarily use in World v World. Plenty more frostbitten weapons. These are weapons again. These are more frostbitten tools that have been reskinned, you know, because I like the Aurene stuff as well. And so just, you know, stuff you would kind of, you know, see on a normal World v World character, boosters, heavy bags, reward track stuff, you know, champion boxes from loot, tower and keep lords, you know, chests, tomes, skirmish chests, you know, pretty typical stuff, I think, for a World v World character. So yeah, that's pretty much it. He's just meant to upkeep boosters. I use him for PvP and for World v World, but these days a lot of World v World. Regarding my plans for my homestead. So, but yeah, that's pretty much him. I actually, while I'm still here, I particularly like that I came up with using cultural legs and boots for him because it's really hard to get heavy armor that's nice plate armor, legs, that doesn't have a codpiece or a skirt. And somehow, fortunately, not only do they not have much of a codpiece or a skirt, but if you dye those areas red, they kind of match really well with the polysaturating and with the inlays of the chest piece. Like, I don't know, I feel like I got lucky again. Like, I kind of like how they look kind of a lot. So got pretty lucky. And I guess maybe in some way, if, you know, it's got that Doom aesthetic where, like, yeah, it's part demon and it's part technology, and I don't know, there's some layers there if you choose to look for them, but I all in all am really content with his look in being, like I said, the opposite of my main, you know. So yeah, that's him. That's my my second Guardian before we even hit the 9th class, which, speaking of, and then finally Heart of Thorns would come out, Revenant would come out, had to make one. His fashion's changed a bit for me over the years. These days it's kind of like, I made Perfected Envoy. You know, he's a big, imposing Norn character. He should probably wear Perfected Envoy, and I guess I feel similarly about the Ad Infinitum backpack. He also wears the Stone Skin Infusion. Not that you can really see it too much, because once you draw your weapons, maybe it's the Juggernaut that messes it up, maybe it's the Legendary Armor Transform, I'm not sure, but basically it loses all of its stone skinniness on the actual armor as soon as you draw your weapon, once you've zoned in with it. Then you know, it's kind of straightforward. I also, like, obviously I replaced the helmet because I think the Mischarred helmet fits really nicely with the set. The normal Perfected Envoy helmet I feel like looks kind of awful. Not a great helmet when it's not deployed, and then when you draw weapons, you look like Blade Master Dearmed from Heart of Thorns. You got these fucking flaps on your helmet, and it's not for me. I get what they were going for, but it just ends up looking silly to me, and this is a lot more of a refined and serious look, I find, for this helmet. So that's how I feel about that. Right now, my other fashion on this character is an idea I had to try to make him look exalted. I think it needs... I think it really needs some kind of infusion to make his skin glow. I haven't really gone too far into it yet, because I'm not really happy with how it looks. Further, I think that the suffused obsidian helmet makes him look more like an exalted burnisher specifically, but before all of this nonsense, he would use a lot of the ley stone armor, because it's kind of got this magic flowing off of it, so he had a lot of that. And now, even to reinforce that even more, like the stone skin infusion also, like with rock armor, rock infusion, there was a lot of that going on. But these days he usually just mostly just wears the Perfected Envoy. But yeah, see, as soon as you draw your weapons, it turns the stone skin off of the armor, which I don't really mind. I kind of just got it because it was there to get. And it's, I don't know, it's cool enough, I guess. If I ever come up with a better use for it, obviously I will, but this character is mostly just for pumping boons and getting tags. I did a little bit of most recent Festival of the Four Winds, the Queen's Gauntlet stuff. And there's a little bit of World v World reward track stuff, because, you know, doing World v World with him is also something that I've jumped into from time to time to try to get some easy tags. But that's, you know, that's basically it. Again, he's I'll probably will use him a bit more when the Labyrinth comes out, when Halloween hits, but for the most part, he was for a little while my daughter was still very, very little and needed a lot of attention all of the time. I joked that, I became a Boon Herald main because it was easy to walk around with one hand and pump boons and still get credit, still play, still progress a little bit. But yeah, that's basically it. Other than that, largely just another level 80 body and the occasional get easy tag because hands full. You know, that's basically it. That's what my Revenant's up to today. And then also with Heart of Thorns came the Druid spec, and I was pretty excited to dive into this. I was a monk main in Guild Wars 1, so we have the monk outfit. I'm not necessarily here to show off an outfit, because who cares? But I did really like the fact that I could play Ranger, which my original monk in Guild Wars 1 was a monk Ranger. I used the Polar Bear pet in Guild Wars 1. I used a longbow for a long time with broadhead arrow to make it, make it easier to kill casters, healers, and so on. And so it is really sick that it came to be like a Ranger, and so I could use longbow, and it just, I don't know, it's a little bit nostalgic for me. The fashion obviously is just kind of, you know, trinkets and legendaries and back piece, and then the monk outfit, of course. But he ended up becoming my fisherman because I did not like how Druid plays in Guild Wars 2. It's very different from monk. I was not very good at it. I think I may have already mentioned earlier in the video that I got a single raid kill on Druid and basically never touched it again. But he's my fisherman now, so I keep all the baits and lures and fishing food and some of these special fish that I think look cute or cool that I kind of want to just hang on to, you know. If ANET ever gives us an aquarium, maybe in our homesteads we can release these things into. Like, I think that'd be really cool. Probably a lot more effort than it's worth, but a cool touch that, you know, maybe we could see. Some way to show off, you know, your rare catches rather than just filleting them into decreasing profits of fish fillets and ambergris, perhaps. But yeah, that's my second ranger, my monk, if you will. So, and the next character I would create is actually the first of my mules. She's just wearing one of the expensive outfits, but she's what I consider my investment mule. So a lot of these things are just things that are worth a lot, things that I think maybe someday will be, you know, worth trying to offload if I really need the gold. You know, some old town clothes tonics that are worth just kind of a lot of gold, especially like this one. You know, if I could get anywhere near this, like that's some fat value right there. But a lot of times it's just Black Lion weapon skins to appreciate in value old Lunar New Year back pieces, since the Lunar New Year changes every year. You know, I've got some home instance nodes that are also spiking because people are excited about homesteads. On the flip side, though, things that do come back every year, not like the Lunar New Year back pieces, are actually kind of a special case because they would, in essence, basically they come back. It's just every year is a different year, so we get a different back piece, and that kind of increases the rarity of, you know, the original Lunar New Year. Like, this is just the plain Jane basic Lucky Ram lantern, and it's starting to get a little pricey. So that's the idea. It's kind of the investment character, but things like, you know, the gift boxes or the Dragon Bash coffers, or, you know, glitched weapons obviously are available to be dropped every year with Super Adventure Box. I try to sell those sorts of festival drops around 6 months after their respective festival ends, so that, temporally speaking, we're as far away from the festival as possible. And I don't know if that ends up always being the most value, but it feels right to me to start to list it then, because that's kind of when it's, you know, it's the furthest from and the furthest till we can get more to come into the game. So that's when logically the supply would be lowest, I guess. Maybe on average, maybe, I don't know. That's just what I usually do if I remember to. A lot of times I forget, and so it's not a perfect thing that I really adhere to, but the fashion's not really worth noting. You know, I just threw whatever on her. She's just a mule. And all right, we have my first cosplay, another mule, but a mule whose fashion I kind of care about. If it's not obvious, this is supposed to be Rick Sanchez as a Sylvari from Rick and Morty. You know, maybe, you know, nearing Pickle Rick area, but not fully Pickle Rick. He's still fully limbed and humanoid in this particular iteration. And we've got Levi's Detector, the rifle skin that kind of looks like a portal gun. And since I made Hope for my Guardian, you know, Hope is super technical, super fancy and techy, and so it just fits. It's too appropriate for Rick Sanchez to have Hope. I also I gave him the Super Adventure Box goggles because of the interdimensional goggles he uses in Season 1 are also green. I don't always wear them, but they're there if I feel the need to be wearing any goggles. I do really like how this cosplay came out. It's pretty spot on. If you knew what you were looking for, you'd go, oh my god, it's perfect. But as far as what he mules for, these are kind of unique one-off Ascended items. Admittedly, some of these things can be re-earned, most notably the relics from Siren's Landing, the end of Season 3's maps there. I could go buy more of those, so these aren't quite like one-offs, but the Elite Specialization weapons, the Elite Specialization trinkets from End of Dragons are all here, and I've got them arranged for, you know, badge ring trinket, and so on and so forth for the whole line of all 9. My Special Ops set is here. My Worm Slayer drops are here. I don't know where the gloves went. They might be somewhere. I really don't know. Some PvP chess pieces and other pieces that we've that I bought skins for that I'm probably gonna have to buy more skins for and make more space for. My Empowered Bone Skinner weapons that I crafted, the original 2 Kaiser Snake weapons that I got for completing the World 1 and World 2 Trib mode, full completes, full weapon sets, that had originally had the red and blue bauble infusions on them. A Khalid Balg I completed at one point. The Manual of Style, you can only get one of those. Some exotic water dragon back piece stuff that I don't think you can get them again. I kept them for whatever reason. A lot of back pieces over here that are kind of one-offs. You can only grab once for the most part. So actually, you can make another Lighted Dwayne, I think. So I could conceivably get rid of that one and the relics maybe if I ever get really, really pinched for space. A couple more, you know, amulets over here are, you know, one-off things, trinkets, fractal troubleshooter stuff, the ancient Norn pin and the cape pin that are from the Otter enrichment. And then he also wears some stuff, like more fractal troubleshooter stuff. Stuff from season 1, it looks like maybe, you know, another random amulet from Path of Fire. So, yeah, I think this set also has some random ascended pistols and some other random stuff to, oh, I was messing around with that backpack. That's another possible backpack. I think I gave him the super adventure-y back piece just so someone would wear it when I unlocked it from finishing the Crimson Assassin weapons. So, yeah, that's my, you know, Rick Mule, I guess. And, of course, we can't have Rick without Morty. This is meant to be evil Morty. The point of this character was he has literally nothing in his inventory. The point was to open bags. I may have mentioned this in the character section. I may not have. But the point is to open bags of gear and get the best value loot. It's been best to open them on a level 80 for quite a little while now, so... that's all. He's just evil Morty. I haven't bothered to level him up to 80 because I don't need another level 80. And, you know, if opening them this way ever becomes valuable, worth it, good, etc., then, like, I'll still have him. Even if, you know, suddenly level 52 is the sweet spot. I haven't leveled him too far, that kind of thing. So, that's all. Little evil Morty. That's all. All right, and this is another Mule, but this was also the inspiration to this was what if my main was a Charr? And so this is what I came up with. He doesn't have the infusions, and I made him a warrior on purpose because that way he could use Ferris. And once upon a time, I did play Condi warrior in endgame content, so I thought this was maybe a decent way to maybe, if I ever feel like it, bridge back into playing Condi Berserker in endgame content. It would still look like me. It would just not be me. It would be, you know, it'd be a big angry Charr version of me or something. You might notice the helmet is different. That's because the illustrious visor on a Charr does not look like a full face helmet. It looks like just a crown, which maybe on one hand I could deal with, but instead I think using the tier 3 helmet instead is a good facsimile for what a full face helmet would look like on a Charr. I also kind of like how like his horns and like the middle horn are like this little like looking almost like a triceratops in a way. Kind of got that dinosaur vibe, but also as a Mule, I've got him holding a lot of the newest drops. I think the oldest skins in his inventory are the Frost Saws. Everything else has been from EOD strikes up here, and then the living water weapons all come from EOD strikes. My sky scale weapon drops from secrets, which yeah, I got a duplicate in there. I got 2 axes somehow. And then the Sin Eater weapons are over here, and then these are OLCCM drops here. I may have mentioned I have the 2 or 3 helmets as choice boxes in the bank. This is the one I chose just to unlock the helmet. So I also have all of my, you know, suffused obsidian skins. Yes, they're just skins, but they add a decent chunk of account value, and I can't bring myself to just trash them. You know, a lot of work went into these skins, so he holds on to them for me. Like I've said a bunch of times, it's kind of just a level 80, a body, you know. I played him in PvP once when there was a meta build that was warrior. That was kind of fun. But otherwise, he's just a level 80. I debated for a little while getting the, from Grothmar Valley, one of those cultural Charr helmets, but the Connor one is still way too expensive for a character I don't play. And then the other one was like a little dinky thing that technically is a Charr helmet, but I think the cultural just looks better. I think it's just a cooler look, honestly. So that's what if my main was a Charr. And next up, really briefly here, these characters are literally mules and nothing else. I don't even think they have you know, proper gear on or anything. They're just mules. They hold ascended stuff. There's some more dark matter on this Elementalist that my wife named. I may have let her do the whole character creation as well. It didn't really matter. She was just going to be a mule, and that's that. And then I can look at her equipment really quick. Oh yeah, see. This is my original experimental envoy set that she's wearing. Random other weapons that don't even have stats. Just to a back piece that I randomly chose stats on. Just to, you know, put them somewhere. And that's all legendary, so that's not anything relevant. But just to put stuff somewhere, you know, free up space. A lot of back pieces in here. You might notice, especially in this shot, that I have a lot of daggers, I have a lot of war horns, I have a lot of rifles. That's because I try, when researching and salvaging ascended drops, I try to stay away from salvaging those items that I don't have legendaries for. Like I mentioned in the section of the video about the legendary armory, I don't have any daggers, I don't have any war horns, I don't have any rifles, things that guardians can't wield. So I try to keep a lot of ascended ones around just in case some other character suddenly needs, oh, I need a war horn for this new overpowered Tempest build, or Ranger build, or daggers for a thief, or daggers for a spell, whatever I need them for, they're there. I have tons. But so that's the point of this character, and also almost the exact same point of this character. Just a mule for muling's sake. Lots of ascended raid drops. That's all they are. This character also has a lot of these tier 5 crystals because my depositables, my collectibles became very, very full of these crystals. And I guess I'm holding out a little bit of hope that we get 500 Jeweler someday, and that these are an instrumental part of 500 Jeweler, so that they are at least of use to me. And if not of that much use, maybe they'll spike in value and I can get more than just vendor value from them. Maybe. And I don't think, yeah, he just has legendary stuff on. There's no more ascended muling on his equipment like there are on some others. But yep, there you go, couple of mules. And here we have my pacifist character. As you might notice, he's not level 80 yet. He's only level 79. I logged into him not to show you his fashion. This is just an outfit. I don't have even level 80 gear on him, but just to show that, yes, the core Tyria is map completed. He is not level 80. And I did manage to do it without killing anything asterisk. Yes, it says 1. Go watch the series. It's a big deal. It's kind of cool. It's pretty exciting. You can find it on my channel. I'll try to remember to link it up in the corner. But I made a mistake when I finished the run. It was level 78. And I had not used any waypoints up to that point, and then I logged onto it one day on stream to show somebody something, and very absent-mindedly like just clicked a waypoint in the minimap and unlocked this and pushed him into level 79. So someday I want to do it again. It's probably going to be a while for a number of reasons, not least of all that I have a daughter now, and a very close second is it's a tremendous amount of editing. I just can't bring myself to map complete for, 4 hours and then come home and edit for 4 hours. It's too much. It's too much, and it's hard to want to do. But I know that doing it completely this was a long story short. Spoiler alert, this was a mistake. I know that doing it with a 0 in this achievement is doable. I would like to do it with a 0 in events. I would like to do it with a 0 in there's another one that I didn't have to do. Oh, and using waypoints, obviously. Reviving allies, all you need is 1. I guess I must have clipped some NPC with Shadow Refuge or something. I don't know. So I know it's possible without reviving anybody either. So something I want to do again. Like I said, I'm not really here for the fashion, just to show that this is my pacifist character from my first successful pacifist world completion. And here we have my third guardian. This character is the second that's going to have multiple fashions to show you, though they're not terribly different. He's my Charr guardian, primarily to use and abuse artillery barrage because it's very, very strong on power builds. I knew this character was going to be primarily a willbender long term, and so I wanted, like, he's got the lightning, he's got like the kung fu pants and the sandals, so it's like, this character is kind of kung fu fighting fast as lightning. That's kind of what the inspo for his fashion is. when I created him, I mentioned this, I believe, in the character section, but I wanted to basically compete on Wingman on 4 different Guardians. It's a count by these days, but it didn't used to be. And so the idea was I'd have different color lightning and other effects for him depending on what build I was running. And so this is what he looks like in full Condi. Thundercrag weapons. I think this one he has different eyes. He has the Sun-Blessed Vision. But otherwise, basically everything else on the set is the same. The back piece is the Sun Catcher, so orange to match the Sun Catcher. And this was my condition damage set. And then moving on back to the purple one, this is my mostly full assassins for playing Power Willbender. And I went with purple, so he's, it matches the Lightning Catcher. And it also is a decent excuse to use Bolt, that also has purpley lightning. The astute observers among you may have noticed my Rick character cosplay has a heroic dragon's blood focus. I literally crafted it just for the skin for this character because it's kind of one of the less obtrusive purple skins for foci. He uses the Tempest Gaze, more lightning, for the eyes. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. Also, another good excuse to use a pinnacle weapon, much like my thief. So that's pretty cool. I think all the weapons on the orange set are Thundercrag. They're just Thundercrag. They're kind of a Black Lion set from a little bit ago that I feel like it's got a little bit of lightning. It also has fire on it. It's like perfect for the vibe that I'm going for. Do burning damage while looking at with orange lightning. It was just perfect. I also, now that I'm hopping back and forth, all my other sets. Actually, two of the other fashions have infusions. I think if I ever get the account-wide Kanaksai orange tattoos infusion drop, I think I'll use it on him. I think it would look sick with this look. If I get the tradable one, I'm going to sell it and make some money. But I believe I was told once that it drops as an account-wide version, like a pre-account bound drop. And if I ever get that one, he's going to wear that on this set, and it'll look cool. Don't really play Condi with him much anymore, but it'll at least look cool. And then moving back to the assassin set, he uses, I think there's the Arcane Flow that was in the Wizard's Vault a while ago, and then there's two Peerless infusions that I remember I grabbed kind of willy-nilly because I needed more AR or something. I remember grabbing them from the vendor like really quickly because I needed them. But that's what he wears on the purple set. And then moving on from there is a full Dragon stat set that I wear for playing Core Guardian. I really particularly like this set because it uses the Stormbow, which is an old Guild Wars 1 classic. All the same armor and skins as the Assassin set, just dyed blue, and also the Wind Catcher for that nice blue. He wears the Mistwalker infusion and a Ghostly infusion. One of the few looks, I think, in the game that I've been able to see and or come up with where a Ghostly fits in. It's pretty rare. My wife has a character that a Ghostly looks great on. I think it's hard to pull off. I think a lot of people just grab Ghostlies because they're cheap AR or because they think a cosmetic infusion's a cosmetic infusion. That means it looks fancy and I look cool, whatever. I don't know. But I really like how this looks, this particular loadout looks. I like both the blue and the purple because they're augmented by, skin colors and other infusions and things. And then we move on to the fourth one, which is a set that basically if you can run on Assassin, you have to run accuracy. But if you can run a 3%, 7% sigil and get 100% uptime on the 7%, this is slightly more damage to run less assassin and more assassin and less berserker. So this might actually be entirely assassin and maybe even some more precision infusions. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's at least a few on there. And so the idea with this is anytime it's nighttime, I can, against Serpent Slaying in the Nightmare Fractal or anything like this, you can, well, that didn't work. I can pop on Night Sigil, Force Sigil, have 15% extra damage, get the crit chance wherever else I need to, and go from there. Now, there isn't another catcher on the back piece, so I went with this. I don't know that I'm sold on this set yet. I don't think there's any, light yellow or light yellow lightning, white lightning. I'm not sure. I wanted them to match the Zenith weapons. The Zenith weapons are kind of old and don't get a lot of love, but they definitely have some lightning in there. So that was the goal. It looks like I'm a little off, actually. These are kind of like a pale pink. We might have to revisit this. Maybe on the next tour, this dye job will be slightly different. But either way, the equipment idea is to, you know, have a quick swap for Night Sigil. Oh, you have to swap the runes. That's what it is. This runs Dragon Hunter runes for the extra power, and then this runs Golemancer runes for the extra precision. That's how we made up for the difference. But look how clean that crit cap is. Ooh, baby. Love it. I don't need to worry about such things on the Core Guard set, because the Core Guard set is crit capped already as full dragon, so he gets to run Force Knight, Force Impact, whatever. Either way, I don't need accuracy, so that's kind of a nice little perk of these builds. Inventory wise, it's basically empty. I've been hanging on to my raid tokens for a while now. Maybe I should have mentioned this in a different section, but I've been hanging on to my raid tokens to try and build full gold statues, full gold raid statues in the stream guild hall here where I'm recording. But then they announced homesteads, and so now I want to hang on to everything in case they come up with a way to trade these in and use them in the homestead. I want to use them personally instead of for the guild. Maybe someday I'll still make a gold statue. I have enough in the bank. You see all these say 250 in the bank. We talked about it earlier. So, but yeah, it's there's basically nothing here, you know. It's just raid stuff. Some writs, some sharpening stones. I pull food from right from the guild storage whenever I need it. So, but that's my fast as lightning Charr power main guardian log hunter. That's not a mouthful. All right, the final new character that I have on my account, the very newest character, is yet another Guardian, my fourth Guardian, a Sylvari, again, for a couple of reasons, I guess, but mostly so I can abuse the racial skills, just like our Artillery Barrage on my Charr. But this time, he's a cosplay. He is meant to be, if any classic horror icon fans are aware, this is meant to be Pinhead, a.k.a. the Cenobite, the lead Cenobite, a.k.a. the Hell Priest. And therein was his name. I don't love the name, but I don't have a lot of characters to play with. Obviously, the chains motif is big. We got chains on the gauntlets, chains on the shoulders. Even his weapons are chained weapons that have chains hanging off of them from Halloween. And so that's the whole idea there. I feel like the Dragon's Decade chess piece does a decent job if you squint and know what you're looking at of you know, kind of possibly resembling some sort of body gore, some sort of you know, self transformation, all the nasty things that he's got going on with his body throughout the movies. I went with the wizard Astral Ward leg skirt, robe bottom, whatever, to make it look like his long robe, his long flowing robe. And I went with the what are these called again? The clawing shadow greaves, which I think were again a Halloween skin. Not because I think he should have claws on his feet, but because they have that kind of misty essence around the feet that a lot of times when Pinhead and his pals were around, there was a bit of a mist kind of that coated the floor. And so that's sort of just to kind of be a nod to that. That's the idea. There are some other chess pieces that I looked at that I considered, but this is the one that I settled on being the one that I like the most. I also, you might notice I'm not wearing any kind of helmet. I could do more Tempest Gaze stuff and have just black eyes, but he didn't have that. They were just plain black like this, and there aren't really any spiky helmets. So I did what I could, and like I said, he was going to be a Sylvari to abuse racial skills anyway, but being able to make his skin completely pale white, being able to have this spiky hair, which is, you know, it doesn't completely cover all of his head and his face, but it's, you know what I mean? It's the best I can do with what options we have in Guild Wars 2. I would love to get some more, like, creepy and scary, you know, horror-esque skins. I think that'd be really cool. But yeah, he's, you know, meant for playing raids and maintaining timers, much like my power Charr character and my competitive evil guardian. This is meant to just kind of keep the condition damage and condition writ timers up without wasting them if I'm not actively raiding. You know, so his inventory, he was also going to be my librarian mule. So anything that's readable, anything that's, you know, could maybe go on, I don't know, a home instance bookshelf. I keep on him. He seemed like the kind, you know, kind of smart, you know, I don't know how associated with or acquainted with the movies everybody is, but seems at least smart, if a little evil. And also, again, more raid tokens. I raid on this character quite a lot. So there's, you know, writs and utilities and a lot of raid drops. just waiting to see what homesteads require of them, and then I'll decide what to do with them after that. Maybe if they add a way to deposit them into somebody else's homestead, maybe we could make some money selling them. You know, who knows? We have to wait and see. I'm excited. I'm very excited, and admittedly, he runs out of space really fast. So I try to use these old, you know, these are like the Living World Season 1 reboot 20 slot bags that were awarded, and then these are old 15 slot Winner's Day achievement gift boxes. So I'm just to get them out of my bank, but also not get rid of them because they're kind of mementos, that kind of thing. So he wears them, he uses them. Yeah, so that's Pinhead, my Condi guard. And we return on the main with a little bit of a jump scare. I put this decoration here to try to be a jump scare for when people zone in, because this is right where you load in, but it may or may not work. But anyway, we're back on the main Guardian to talk a little bit about my shared slots. I realized I omitted that earlier. And a little bit about the Stream Guild and the goals associated with it. Honestly, the shared slots are probably largely what you would expect. Convenience pass. I'm a big fan of the Mistlock Sanctuary because it was the first one that would allow you to get put back where you came from. You could say, oh, I'm out farming XYZ, I'm in this map farming a currency or trying to do an achievement or whatever, but I need to go to the trade post, I need to go to the bank, what have you. You can blink there, do what you need, and blink right back to where you were, and this was the first pass that let you do that. All the other passes for the longest time did not let you do that. The Lava Lounge, the Royal Terrace, it didn't matter. You couldn't do that. You were stuck, you know. You go from, you're farming an achievement, you're farming an event chain, you're gathering whatever, you blink to the Royal Terrace, that's it. You're in Divinity's Reach now. That's all. You need to waypoint or otherwise travel back to where you were. Nowadays, all of the convenience passes do that. They all will let you go back to where you were, and that's really huge. I think that's a big QOL change. I'm not sure how the home portal stone works, another gem store item these days, but I bought it when it came out thinking it sounded sick, and then when I realized it also would not put you back where you came from, I immediately wanted a refund. Immediately got rid of it, and never really gave it another second thought. But with homesteads coming, we'll be able to home portal any old time. Salvage kits, pretty typical. A portable Mystic Forge, pretty typical. Then it starts in with teleport scrolls, starting with Season 3, going in story order. Season 3, Path of Fire. Season 4, Icebrood Saga, Arborstone with Soto, and now Wizard's Tower with Siege of the Obscure. And then if we get another hub teleport scroll like this for Janthir Wilds, I'll probably put it right here and shuffle everything all the way over since I haven't used my 80 boost from Janthir Wilds yet. World Boss Portal device. It's really cool. Sometimes if there's like a weekly in the Wizard's Vault, I might use the portal device. But otherwise, it's just kind of cool to have. I used it a lot in the past when I'd run out of things to do. Rarely, I'll tell new players, returning players, like, hey, what's some kind of easy, kind of brain dead gold? And I'll rattle off the usuals, you know, Silver Wastes, if you can't, Dragonfall, so on, Drizzlewood, you know, the normal maps to go farm. But sometimes I'll even mention, like, if you feel like following a world boss train, that is almost AFK-able, you know, especially if you've got the portal device. Hit the portal device, go to the next boss, wait till it spawns, auto attack with a longbow ranger or a rifle deadeye or something, and just get credit for things, you know. So that's that. Candy Corn Gobbler, maybe the best item in the game. You can open this up and spam eat candy corn, and it might transform you, or it might give you a nice XP boost, or a nice Magic Find boost, or a nice Karma boost, or you might just keep getting transformed over and over again when you're trying to give an example. You know, it gives you 7 or 10 or 15 minutes of random boosts if you're lucky, depending on what the boosts are. It changes their durations. Amazing item. Can't wait for Halloween to farm up more candy corn. I kept all of my candy corn from last Halloween to use with this gobbler, and this is all I have left. All of that farming, one of the guild bank slots, or guild bank, treasure trove was full of candy corn, and now, like, this is all I have left. Like, I'm ready to farm some more. Similarly, Snowflake Gobbler, also really good. I also just learned recently, I won't show you on this character. Can you not be rude when I'm trying to show people things? The Snowflake Gobbler has a cap. It says it'll either give you a Winner's Day gift or it'll give you 15 minutes of those different percentage boosts. The cap for that duration, that 15 minutes, is a day. As soon as your duration exceeds a day, you can continue gobbling snowflakes, but you won't get any boost or Winter's Day gifts. And if you close the window and reopen it, it's locked and it tells you an error message and says you have exceeded the maximum duration. So this is my Sandstorm. I never gamble at all, let alone from here, and I primarily just use it as a permanent portable vendor. Precision Rewinder, enough said. You know, I don't really hardly ever use it, and that's not to say that I don't mess up, it's just that I don't think that I have it and don't bother using it. Celebration boosters are great in a shared slot if you're ever doing something on a character and you don't expect, you know, to be farming per se, but say you chance into like a Sandswept Isles Southern meta, and you're like, oh man, I'm about to get a whole bunch of kills. I can pop on just a 1 hour 100% Magic Find boost and maybe get some extra better loot. Unidentified, some people disagree with me for having the unids here and the luck here, but this allows me to kind of get loot on any character, and it'll pile up here, and then when I get to a full stack or nearly a full stack, I can process everything on my main because he's got so much space. And similarly with luck, when I do process these things or when I salvage things on other characters if I need to, the luck will pile up here, and then when that piles up, I can throw it in the bank for my artificer to refine and combine down into exotic ones. Then we get into the Black Lion stuff. This is a little jumbled right now. I took out the merchants because I didn't need them. We've got my gambling trophy, if you will. But bank access, I don't use teleports to friend enough. That's why there's a random bonus extra one here. I'll make a reason to use it, I guess. Ornate keys for parking, like I mentioned before, level 80s around at the sunken chest, and now you don't have to worry about juggling keys or divvying them up. Like, they're all right there. Revive orbs, obviously. And then my Omni Potion, because for a long time I didn't do fractals on anybody but this character. But since getting into the Wingman competition on the fractal leaderboards, I do fractal on the other two Guardians and this Guardian. So having the potion in a shared slot is just kind of a no-brainer. It also helps if I'm, feeling a little different, want to do something completely different, and want to jump on my Soul Beast or Untamed and do fractals. She's already got this potion here as well. And then, like I mentioned, my level 80 boost, I haven't used it yet. I might use it for a level 80, like a key farm run where I'll do, the level 10 story, and we'll do Living World Season 2, Episode 6, and we'll do Bloodstone Fen map completion, and we'll do Grothmar Wilds map completion, and we'll do, all those easy maps to just quickly run through and bang out and maybe get a key for. That's probably what I'll do with it. I'll make a day of it. If I don't do that soon, it'll probably be a long time from now, so maybe I should plan a stream to just be, some key farming. Considering there is I'm getting a little bit off course here, pals, let me, forgive me. But considering there is a really nice sword in the chest right now that I do really want, tell me that doesn't fit me perfectly. Talk about account tour, talk about fashion, bro, it's perfect. They made it for me, dude. It's perfect. But I've opened probably like 40-ish keys towards it by now, 40, 50 keys towards it by now. I haven't gotten lucky yet, so. And then that brings me to the guild. You might have noticed anytime you've seen me streaming or in-game or even during this video that my characters all rep the ATTV guild. It is my TTV guild. The original goal with this guild was it's not so much a traditional guild or guild hall, like we're gonna form up on X day of the week and do this event or that event or guild missions. This was meant to be like a resource for people. You can come and gather from the synthesizers that are up here. You can come and activate maximum guild hall buffs from the tavern. The synthesizers are only level 4, which means if you do level 6 ones, for instance, in like if I were to go to this or even the United Arts, that has max level synthesizers. They're not quite max level guild, but max level synthesizers. The level 6, the tier 6 ones share different cooldowns from the tier 4 ones, so you can gather from both, and I intend to keep it that way. Anybody of any rank can activate guild missions. So if you're, you miss your guild missions, you want to make, you can activate a trek really quick and just go grab one of the targets and get your weekly reward. This is always a single bounty. Some of them are soloable pretty easily. You can even grab a pal or ask me for help. So that's the idea, is anybody can activate missions. Anybody can come and get these buffs. There's dies in the stash a lot of the time. But the main goal, the final end-all be-all goal, was the maximum minus 15% waypoint cost, and that requires a guild level of 40. And I have been pretty staunch about denying accepting any kind of material donations for help for paying for it, because I didn't want you guys or prospective viewers, I should say, to have to pay in for something that I want to offer you as a the smallest of consolations of thank yous for even being in the guild and maybe ever repping the guild, to get that 15% waypoint cost. So that was a pretty big goal that we just hit pretty recently. So yeah, that's the guild. That's my shared slots. If you care about my gathering tools, we have the Glyph of Reaping, super satisfying. But yeah, that'll be it for the guild and the shared slot stuff. And with that, the 50,000 AP Pre-Janthir Wilds account tour is at an end. Astute observers among you may notice changes, sometimes pretty significant ones with like the time or the follower count widget, and especially wardrobe. This was recorded over a number of days, and because of technical issues, because of scheduling and so on. But this is my first attempt at an account tour and super long form content like this. So if there's anything about the format you really liked or really didn't like, let me know. Or if there's, you know, there's almost invariably going to be stuff that was interesting that I didn't talk about, or things that I glossed over too quickly. In which case, also let me know, or even better, come by the stream and we can talk about it live. I can pull up everything and we can look at it together. Also, I'm going to try to remember to put my API key in the description so you guys can explore my account if you want. I know I mentioned that at one point. Other than that, I am tremendously excited for Janthir Wilds and everything that it's bringing, but primarily homesteads. So you can absolutely bet that the next time I do one of these, it will feature a homestead tour. And I will likely have some kind of room or hall or podium or something for the for my characters to stand on in the fashion section of the tour. But with that, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. And I think that's it from me. Till next time, Tyria.
You're a Hellmasker, brought another light. In the world of Tyria, ready for a fight. Dragon hunter hating, ain't no debating. Watch him on Twitch, out DPS and playing. High DPS, he's a boss in the game. 29 legendaries.
Oh my god!
Achievement point stack, king of the grind.
Let me bite off the ass of a Zerg, you know what I'm saying?
Hellmasker, the legendary elite. Dragon hunters running.
I smell achievements. Achievement points to be earned.
Never cease to amaze. Started from the bottom, now he's at the top. Guardian skill so sharp, never gonna stop. Dragon hunter trash, he ain't got no use in the key of our machine. Cutting chin loose, achievement point master, he's collect them all. Jumping puzzles, fractals answering the call. Tyria's finest, his fame ain't a fluke. And PvP by 5 players goes off like a nuke.
I had just come from Divinity's Reach. I was strolling through Lion's Arch looking for a lead. Little did I know, that day, everything for me would change.
Hellmasker, the legend guardian elite. Dragon hunters running, can't stand elite. Top DPS, every battle he slays. Wingman cringing, never cease to amaze. So tune into the stream.
Yeah, Warclaw, that's what I wanted. Thank you. Oh yeah, sick. Anyone know what the area between the nose and lip is called? Right here? The mustache.